You apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize?
Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize.
Why?
I have asked
Didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
With the show of hands, can you show me your hands if you were satisfied with what you heard from the Attorney General today? Nobody. Show of hands if you are frustrated with what you heard.
Very much so. She had 3 opportunities to address survivors. We stood up, and all she had to do was turn around, and she could not even turn around and face us.
Epstein was absolutely a monster, but he didn't act alone. I was a little embarrassed to see that she couldn't say sorry to us, because she sat there in the beginning, she said sorry for what Jeffrey Epstein did to us, but yet she couldn't apologize what she did to us, what her department did to us. You had one job, was to redact our names, to respect our privacy, but yet you carefully took the time to redact all these powerful rich men.
She also said, you know, she was talking about anybody can go to the FBI. Any survivor right now can go to the FBI. And then we saw 302s that are full pages of black that even our congressional leaders can't get access to.
There was nothing that gave us any bit of hope of any kind of integrity and doing the right thing when it comes to Epstein-Maxwell accountability.
And honestly, the thought that I have is birds of a feather flock together.
And then you had these other knuckleheads, these fucking jokers like Prince Dipshit, that's taking pictures with them. This is rich, powerful, elite people. Again, acting as if the law does not apply to them. Which in this country, in a lot of countries, it's kind of a tale as old as time, right? But now, you know, you're not just like ripping off the stock market. You're not just pump and dumping some shit meme coins. You are taking innocence away from children. When you see people do evil shit like this, it's so inhumane, you wonder if they are human.
So we're able to talk about Pizzagate in the mainstream now? Like, it's like a decade's worth of shit that's just been building up. Yeah, but the girls were doing it. These girls were demons, bro.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's Sarah Kellum,
that's
dude.
Wild.
Sarah Kellum, she's been named.
Look at this. There are hundreds of pages that look just like this. This is not what the law requires. This is a mockery of the truth and an insult to the survivors.
Sir, do you think your Attorney General wasn't here, your FBI leadership? Do you still have confidence in that team, sir? Total. Sir, will you get appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with this.
Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir? So this is a Democrat hoax, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and in many big people. You know.
Trump could go fuck himself, right? Especially since
yes,
Democratic hoax. We shouldn't even look at these fucking files. Oh, now because he found a file that he didn't know about that makes him look good because they were colluding behind it. Go fuck yourself. This should be burned in front of him and go, you're never allowed to use this because you shamed the files.
One one exchange, his name is in the Epstein files more times than Harry Potter's name is in all 7 books of Harry Potter.
The system that they set up for us to view these documents has a 24-page handbook on how to use it. Today I saw a worldwide sex trafficking ring with people in other countries sourcing young children for Jeffrey Epstein.
Her attorney essentially at the same time was saying, hey, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person who could clear President Trump and President Clinton.
She needs to go back to that maximum security prison.
The FBI works for Pam Bondi, and they need to unscrub the redactions that the FBI made to comply with the Epstein Transparency Act. I'd say 70 to 80% of them were redacted. The main 302 statements where survivors talked about who raped them, all of that was still redacted.
There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men.
Well, fuck Todd Blanche. Oh, you peasants. You won't be able to find anything in the over 3 million pages, which is still only half of what we have. Well, maybe not, because it seems like what you've done is go through and redacted anybody that could be involved in this thing as much as possible. And also at the same time, managed to release almost every single victim's name. How the fuck do you fuck up that bad without it being on purpose? Black Magnet, what is going on?
Good evening.
Oh yes, hello everyone. We're so glad you're here. You're on the Gabriel Speaks podcast, and we're hanging out here tonight with Flak Magnet, and we're going to do our best to keep from losing our brains on this Epstein madness. But my special guest here tonight has a few theories that we thought we would kick around and see what people thought about it.
I'm also not holding back punches tonight. That's a unique one. Usually I like to be nice and safe.
Now I know we are going to go through and I loaded up a couple of videos in case you wanted to use them as demonstration later about your theory about Maxwell and how that whole ordeal's continuing, and how it may have operated. And folks, we know one Epstein down, probably 99 to go. Let's be real about this.
Concur 100% with that.
Right? It sucks, but that's the reality. I mean, he was not the only guy doing this. He was the only guy doing this that we caught.
Maybe that lived in his house. You know what I mean? He was the only guy doing it that lived that lived in his house and slept in his bed. That's all we can say for sure. But even then, like Ghislaine, I'm pretty sure slept in his bed, and she's another Epstein. You know, I think she's a very high level in her own regard. I think that they split around like 2010 when shit really hit the fan for Epstein. I think she saw the writing on the wall and separated herself enough to where she could run her own trafficking operation and not have it completely implicated. And we can kind of see that from where she was arrested just for being a madam for Epstein, but Terramar never got fully investigated. All of Terramar's cohorts and traffickers and victims, you don't hear any victims coming forward publicly about her. And I'm not saying they haven't come forward. I'm just saying that we're not getting any press from after Epstein. Where Ghislaine,
Right.
she's just as important in my eyes and just as I don't know, nefarious with the things that she was dealing with. Plus, both of them fantastic money launderers in their own right, like professionals.
Very good at it. And they both had the ability to keep these big named people around themselves, right? So that a lot of times what they were doing wouldn't come into question because, oh shit, they hang out with Bill Clinton, they hang out with whoever, that nothing shady would be going down there.
And all the guys is like the philanthropy, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to assume that the billionaire on the board of of a trafficking foundation for helping victims would be using those same victims because they know that they're troubled and need help to do their own bidding. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing your brain wants to go to when you hear of volunteer work and stuff, like people trying to take advantage of the system by pretending to be victims or helping victims.
Right. But we know, I mean, the data shows that is what these people do, right? They find places close to victims, to potential victims. I mean, that's nothing new. That's why the guys that get out of jail with those charges aren't able to get houses near schools and stuff like that.
Well, that's what the registry is supposed to be for, but like I believe the first time Epstein got arrested, he avoided being put on the registry in New Mexico, where his main residence is, even though, like, I'll give it to him, his main residence is very far away from everything, basically, in New Mexico. But in New York, like that area of Manhattan, you can't throw a stone without hitting a park or a school or this. Like, I know, like, at least 4 blocks away, there was a Montessori French school, which was for French children of like diplomats, attaches, things like that, that didn't speak any English, that did like not even a foreign exchange. It was just kind of like them coming to school here and doing their schooling in the U.S.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like exchange students.
But this was like a whole school filled with exchange. Like look up what a Montessori school is.
Like
it's got this own weird thing to it.
So they're not, it's not like they're living with temporary parents in the country or something. They're like in some kind of a home or something. I mean, how do they do it?
Might be a boarding school type of thing. Might be like these are also billionaires, like very rich people, also politically connected and diplomats in other countries, so who knows? It could just be a nanny system, you know what I mean? Like how often do they see their kids anyway?
If y'all have any thoughts on this stuff, don't be shy. Throw them in the chat. We love to hear them and interact with y'all. That's like one of my favorite things to do about these shows is interact with the folks that are watching. So Jeffrey Epstein, piece of shit. Is Jeffrey Epstein dead, Flak? No, yes. So no, I was asking, is Jeffrey Epstein alive or dead?
Man, I don't know. I think he's been transferred out. He's got enough money. He's got enough, like between the Lifeboat Foundation, I think it was. Like he has the ability to hide in a bunker. A very nice, well-made luxury bunker because he was on the board of a company that made it.
It's interesting. I know there's that AI picture that was floating around that did look a lot like him, but it was AI, from what I understand, anyway. But things like that, it's so hard to keep clear anymore, right? Like some of the AI now is so fucking good. Tracy thinks he's alive. He's alive as the Autopsy Pic show. And you speak to morticians? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think he's dead, but I don't think he killed himself. That's my thought. I think at first they wanted the roommate to kill him, and then they realized that wasn't going to happen, so they did something kind of shady and underhanded and made sure he was dead.
I think it would be more advantageous for the system, the shitty, corrupt system, for him to be totally gone. Less loose ends, the better. But I think that he had so much blackmail and compromise and money and influence that I don't think they could shoo him away that quickly. You know what I mean? Like, especially, I don't know. If you look at everything, he was acting as if he was getting out. There was nothing in the, like, what would he have served? Maybe 5 years if we wouldn't have made the trouble for the past 5-6 years. Before any of the real shit came out and before he died, he thought he was getting out.
Yeah, he certainly probably thought his connections would get him out. So I can't imagine him not thinking he's getting out. There's so much weird stuff about Epstein. I'm not sure. I can't tell if Tracy, if you're being sarcastic or not, but I think you're saying you're not 100% sold on the death. That there's reasonable doubt that maybe he wasn't all the way dead. I'm going to show some of this video I put together here. And what's interesting is Pam Bondi's at this briefing with Trump at the White House, and she talks about the missing footage and how much was missing. And she says that, like the cameras are from the 90s, so it resets around that time every night. But we haven't verified that it resets every time that night. We're going to do that. But it resets about every time that night. And, yeah. And that's the thing. If there's an hour missing of video or 5 minutes missing of video, it could just as easily be 5 hours.
I don't think they realize like how quick information moves nowadays, because she's saying things and they're being debunked by normal people now instantaneously, like nobody was giving
normies like me, dude. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm one of the extraordinary paranoid individuals that in the very near future we're going to be looked at as oracles.
Yes, you're the first guy I call. Flak.
I hope I'm not.
What the hell is going on?
Crazy people.
No. You just sense it. Yeah, you can sense it. You have a good feel for it. You have your ear to the ground for sure. So this is weird. So this video is y'all have probably seen it. This is him doing an interview about poaching scientists from Los Alamos. Did you see this?
Is this the one with Steve Bannon, or is this another one?
I don't know who's interviewing him, to be honest. TBH. I just know it's him saying that they chose that barn at Zorro to basically steal physicists that had either retired or had just left from Los Alamos because the government wasn't investing in them anymore.
That's wild. His compound out in New Mexico is all surrounded by military land, like surrounded to where, like, how did he even fucking buy that bit? Because it was the military land before he bought it.
Yes, you're sort of rugging slightly, but I can hear what you're saying. Yes. And military land, and also military land where paranormal type things have been rumored to be happening forever. So it fits right in there with, the Skinwalker Ranch area, some other areas in Utah and New Mexico that are said to... Right. So there's many out there that are said to have this kind of energy for sure.
Los Alamos, which was the high energy lab up in New Mexico, was losing all its scientists.
And Los Alamos, it was where Oppenheimer and where a lot of the nuclear weapons program, the bomb.
That's where the Manhattan Project.
Manhattan Project was
Yes.
as Los Alamos, and you bought your property out in New Mexico to be near that?
Yes, because the scientists were going to they cut the funding for high energy physics. But the people who worked in Los Alamos would still be in the Santa Fe area. And people thought that physics and high energy physics really wasn't that important.
Because that was about nuclear weapons.
No, it was because they decided, which may be not right. This was the same time that Murray Gell-Mann came up with the term quark, Q-U-A-R-K. No one then understood what it was, just like the financial system.
I was just saying, in the recent file drops, there's a bunch of scientists that he's out in the desert looking at petroglyphs all over the area of his ranch.
Flak the Oracle. Nailed it. So, poaching physicists from Los Alamos is Jeffrey Epstein from Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. Zorro.
Do you think he was doing the same thing Bob Lazar was doing with the brothels and the videotaping of certain acts? Like, I don't know, more for military secrets. Like, it's something I never thought about, but it's clearly like obvious that he could have been doing that.
Buddy, anything is possible in this weird, wacky world, you know? I have a hard time putting anything past a lot of these cats. I really do. So that could totally be a possibility, that this is some kind of known thing to get dirt on associates. So if you ever have to squeeze them, you can squeeze them.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild trying to keep track. Like, they're also up to so much shit too, you know?
Oh, man. And you know, we were hanging out the other night and you said something about like 70 chess, and you're totally right, man. That not only are they several moves ahead of us, they see moves and they see pieces and they see angles that we simply don't see. So it's impossible.
Yep. Because like I had to reevaluate how I looked at Pizzagate, QAnon, and all that, because just of his prowess with everything else, he seems to have a Trump-like ability of getting ahead of shit by either taking it full on, and by that I mean him running like in the background with certain other rumors that can never be substantiated, right? And pushing those to the forefront, like because Q was right about a lot of things, but there were a lot of things that they were fucking calling out that were totally wrong, pulling people in the wrong direction too. So
well, and
I don't know, man.
Was the Q at the end the same Q that started it?
Well, I know it was infiltrated by
too.
In the FBI logs. Like, you can look up the whole Q thing, and like, they've investigated it. They put it out in FOIA, and around 2018, it was infiltrated by an informant who was whatever the fuck was going on in Q. Every bit of communication was being ratted right on over to the FBI. So they had all breaking information on whatever stuff was going there to then further manipulate future posts, right? Not through Q, but through normal social media, where they can doctor it and make it look like a Q post, misattribute things to things. You know, it was half sentences, maybe a word or two. You know, it was just wild.
I don't trust the FBI so much, but I did watch this really good HBO documentary called Q Down the Rabbit Hole. Did you happen to catch that one?
Oh, no. I was like watching a bunch of accounts that were taking on a ton of like the cicada stuff. So I was well informed on all the Q things, but I thought it was something different. I thought it was more like a cryptography code breaking recruitment tool. But I seen that it was more like cicada was kind of taken over, and then Q was used to further obfuscate. You know, there was no recruitment tool with Q other than maybe to see which influencers were buyable. This is all my opinion, you know, like, because I do think Q was onto something, but it got so fucked by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will tell you that the documentary will give you a fresh look because you've got a very good investigative journalist researching a topic. He doesn't have a dog in the fight, right? So he's objective. And I think that's half the battle of investigating anything.
Can I say that's why I like Ben Swan so much? He's the one who did the Pizzagate documentary, right? Or not documentary, but he did the Pizzagate story, and then actually
News Channel and got fired.
Yeah. Yep. But he looked at it like I think all of us did, where it was like, oh, this is so strange. Let me see if there's any facts to this crazy shit. And then when you start seeing all the
weird
threads,
stuff.
Yep. I just can't get. We'll say a certain individual's Instagram posts. Right, like I don't know. Are you willing to LARP as something so fucking goddamn terrible that you're willing to post photos on your Instagram to make you look like that, but you're totally not that. You know, like a pedophile type material, like children duct taped and bound and things. Because I would never do that, especially if I wasn't that. I wouldn't want to be taking on that fucking fight for a bunch of scumbags that I'm not a part of. A certain Ale Fontas. Hope you understand what I'm trying to get there. But that was all his. Right. So that was all his Instagram, brother. That was all his Instagram. Like he posted those things. It was nobody else. You know.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing is at least in the documentary, if you believe the work of the journalist, if you think that he's accurate, if you think that he's right, and it is this person, it's very surprising.
As a friend of part of the duo, you also know him. You've chatted with him a whole bunch, Mr. Memory Hold. He's a good friend of the chat, good friend of the channel. He did half of the work for the Mouthy Buddha documentaries, the ones on Pizzagate, all those.
Yeah,
that was him and Mouthy Buddha, and I take it from them and their good authority on the amount of research they personally have put into it, because I came in after they had already started, you know, so I don't want to take anybody else's research for my own.
No,
but they put me onto a lot of things, you know, and I trust them. Fucking, they did a lot of really hard work, you know, and they showed all the receipts too.
Yeah, well, and even watching that simple, it's like a 7 or 8 minute piece that Ben put together. He's able to quickly reference those FBI symbols and show you that they match the place next door. And so it's not like there's all the weird emails. It's not like this was just a nothing burger. It doesn't necessarily mean that it had to be the most evil thing we can think of, but it certainly could mean that. Because that's one weird way to be talking about, what, cocaine or something? I mean, what else would you try to code word like that? Some kind of drug?
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like it could be substituted for, but like, I don't know, the direct comparison to the FBI's own, like what that symbolism means and what that code language means. Like, I don't know, man. Like they use too many things right on the nose to get away with we didn't know. You know, like if it was one thing, they only had a bunch of weird symbols, you know, but no code words. Okay.
Well,
you know, but
let's be real. Let's look at these justice.gov/Epstein. Tell me you have not read at least a dozen.
Yep.
And you go, what happened? What did they do? Did they seriously do nothing? Did they seriously read this? And we're like, so what? Torture. Nothing to follow up on here. A big old vat of sulfuric acid. Nothing to worry about, folks.
Remember them walking out of that private hearing where they got to see all the unredacted files and videos and so on and so forth, and every woman that walked out of there was emotionally damaged?
Well, one of them was. Yeah.
They showed another one. They showed another one the other day.
Was there more than one? I feel bad because I gave one of them a hard time. It wasn't that. It was they were in this meeting with the victims, and the victims were telling their stories to these Congress people.
I think it was accompanied with evidence.
She came barging out crying.
I think it was accompanied with evidence. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was a little presentation. Because this is the whole thing. You could all take it as wacky people who want to get money, right? But these are wacky people who had outlandish stories that were on the flight logs, were in his email correspondence, were paid by him via JP Morgan and things, you know. So, like, you have so many points of reference where you can go, 90% of their story is true. They were at this place, they were at that place, they were doing this, and they also have Jeffrey acknowledging their presence in private.
Yes.
You know, because he would deny knowing them. Ghislaine was queen of that. She claimed she didn't know who the fuck Virginia Roberts was, and then like once they kind of figured out and they caught her up, she would then say, "Oh, I don't remember her that well. I don't remember her doing that." Bitch, you just said an hour ago that you don't remember her at all, and now you remember her? Like, fuck off. You know, that's why she changed her tune. This time, she didn't say a fucking word. She just 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth every question.
Jose Canseco'd it. Do you breathe oxygen? Yep. I plead the fifth in that statement. Okay, so before I play this little Pam Bondi had to go in front of Congress and answer some questions today. Why do you think she had to do that?
Oh, because she's totally innocent and she's totally doing her job. I haven't seen any footage you're going to show, but because I have trust in the government, I think that's why she's there.
So, so Pam Bondi went in front of Congress and answered some questions today. Mostly she was argumentative with anybody from the left side, and mostly it was kiss ass from anybody on the right side. So kind of typical of what you would see. I tried to filter most of the bullshit out. Pam Bondi had to go before Congress, and it was a fucking mess. And what's crazy is that every time she is asked why this was dealt with in a certain way, she defers back to, well, how come you didn't ask the last guy that? Are you what are we, 5 years old? We're going to take a look at a few highlights, unfortunate highlights from that hearing. And then we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's coming up on these files. We've got Thomas Massey posting a message on X today, ensuring people that he is not suicidal. That's how worried he is. And just because I'm saying that, I do want to be responsible. Folks, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 988. If you feel desperate and in that situation, you know somebody that's feeling desperate or in that situation, please reach out to that lifeline before you make any final decisions. Sometimes you just need someone to listen to you. And now that we've discussed that, I can show you what Thomas Massey posted on X today. I am not suicidal. I eat healthy food. The brakes on my car and truck are in good shape. I practice good trigger discipline and never point a gun at anyone, including myself. There are no deep pools of water on my farm, and I'm a pretty good swimmer. Now, why would Thomas Massey feel like he needs to post this? Perhaps it's because he might have put himself in between a rock and a hard place some very powerful people. You saw in that intro video, President Trump is now calling this a hoax. This is not a hoax. There were over 1,000 victims. This is a worldwide trafficking ring of women that are not of age. This isn't a one-off. Thomas Massey's a Republican. But if you don't play ball, he's going against the Republican that the Trump White House is financing. This is Bondi at the hearing. This isn't the full hearing, but just some very, very heated interactions.
Emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking. These are the documents that we need, that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document?
Holy shit. I wonder, could that question, that statement right there, be the reason that Mr. Massey felt the need to post this earlier today? He's asking, can you track who is responsible? Because I think we need to know who is responsible for trying to cover Les Wexner's name, and at the same time, the email that has everybody's name on it to make sure you redact, you release that email unredacted? How do you not look at that as like probably malicious?
Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that?
Here's
a political
the question.
joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to the next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Gentlemen, you need to
I want you to watch the video.
The chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
That is pretty damning. to the FBI because you had the director of the FBI sitting in the hot seat saying if there was any evidence that this man was trafficking, we would be on it.
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them.
Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush.
Yeah, you'd love to hear from him so you can mark him down on your little list and then accidentally dox them to millions of people.
This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know, at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not.
This is great. I don't know if you caught it, but just a second ago, that was the first time she tried to tell a congressman that his time was up.
Continually updated the judges who oversaw the Epstein and Maxwell criminal matters. And they have said one of the reasons it's taking us so long is we have an obligation to redact or withhold victim identifying information. That's not only victims' names, but anything else that would allow a person to say, oh, that's Ariel Reshef or that's Lisa Rubin. And I'm telling you, on the basis of just the very cursory initial review that I and others at MS Now have done so far, I have seen documents that reveal the names and other identifying details of known survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. In at least one case, I have seen a driver's license with an unredacted photo.
We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video."
By the way, they did reveal the identity of that person who was a Dubai CEO. And he actually resigned from a company called DP World. So the Justice Department identified Ben Saliam as the Sultan who received the email from Epstein where Epstein wrote that I loved the torture video. Congressman highlighted the document because the recipient was redacted in the document. Why would they redact his name? Why is his name redacted and victims' names showing up? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Left side, right side. It doesn't matter. This is fucking bullshit. The torture video? Yeah, we need to make sure nobody finds out who that was. Yeah, Steve's got it. Both sides. They're both full of liars and scumbags. They want transparency when it exploits the other side. They don't want it when it exploits them. It's the same shit back and forth. But this shit, kids, they've just taken it to the next level. And I hope you all are ready. Because this is a serious fuck you. What are you going to do about it? I hope y'all understand that. This is a joke to them. They have 6 million documents. They released 3.
The chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second.
Oh, even better. He does business with the president and Steve Bannon. Perfect.
And the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted. You apologize to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done. Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman is
I'm
reclaiming
not
her
going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
We are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew." So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you.
That is terrible leadership, y'all. If you're any kind of a leader or have been a leader or inspired by great leaders in a profession or anything, a great leader doesn't say, "Oh, I know it's fucked up, but it's because of the last guy." That is the absolute worst answer that she could have given right there. Why didn't this shit get released? Why wasn't it released appropriately? Why is stuff redacted that shouldn't be redacted? And stuff unredacted that should be redacted? Why were there no criminal charges filed when we have pictures and video of criminal acts taking place? Well, you didn't ask the last guy that. Steve says, the Trump lawyers of Pam Bondi, I'm sure we're telling them every time they challenge you on your actions, just ignore it and point to how they didn't challenge the Biden. And absolutely. She had a, one of those enemy books that some of these intelligence guys will keep around when they're getting briefs. And they know they got it indexed to the exact congressperson's name. Boom, where's the dirt on this guy? Boom, here's the dirt on this guy. But it's absolutely crazy that her answer is, well, you didn't ask the last guy about it.
I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. Another
Can I answer your question about protecting?
You answered the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video.
and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock.
sign
Stop the clock.
the legislation. This is ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous.
I believe the Epstein files are just one of many sex rings, sex crimes taking place in our society today. Shouldn't ask a question 100%. I don't know an answer to, but I'm going to ask the victims behind you right now. Can you please raise your hand if you think after everything you've heard today, you feel that our AG, the feds, have your back? Do we have your back? Raise your hand if you're confident that we got your back. And that's the issue, Madam AG.
Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office. It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which I think is around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked. And they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn. But he wants $10 billion. Now, I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that $10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government. He himself has remarked, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the deal, right? And he says, I kind of have to work it out with myself. Do you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for the president to work out a deal from people who are his subordinates under his unitary executive theory to get money in one of these cases?
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Okay, so theoretically you're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had a right for that not to happen. Now, I want to turn back to the Epstein survivors, because President Trump may have been a little bit embarrassed by the release of those tax returns. How much do you think the claims of these survivors are worth? As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion theoretically from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is? You're so obsessed with, you don't, do you?
I'm going to teach you the rules again. You're the
That's amazing. Once again, deflecting, not answering the question, because, you know, whether you agree with these guys politically or not, it's a very valid point to raise that the president is suing the IRS for 80% of their annual operating costs, $10 billion, because some of his tax returns got leaked. Since I'm the president and I'm suing the IRS, I basically get to negotiate against myself, right?
It's nuts too, because he's essentially robbing the U.S. people of their tax dollars in that way. You know, I don't know if he were the president and I don't know, had untold amounts of influence. I don't know, maybe he could know someone within the IRS that could possibly accidentally leak his information on purpose, and then he could make some sort of deal on the litigation of said illegal act. You know, I don't know. These people are all fucking corrupt, and the files kind of prove it. You know, it's easy for us to speculate and say this. It's even easier now when they fucking talk like this.
So we got a message from Red. He's feeling a little frisky. Said he might stop by. If Trump could sue the government, the post office, or I'm sorry, the IRS for leaking his tax statement for $80 billion, then how much do these victims get to sue the federal government for leaking their HIPAA and victim information online to everyone in the world? How much is that worth?
They also redacted they were able to redact the victims' names from disclosure on the Sweetheart deal, and they got sued fuck out of for that one. They got sued out of for that one. They can leave the victim's name out of shit they're supposed to get so that they can feel like justice was done, but they didn't. They didn't get that one.
Yeah. I don't get it, man. I really don't. I mean, I do get it. It's a bunch of powerful people thinking this is a game, and the information they didn't want to get out got out, and now they're just doing their best damage control, it seems like.
We have rules here.
Obsessed with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
We're
and the rules.
Obsessed with Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome.
On September 25th, President Trump signed a memorandum known as NSPM 7, purporting to address domestic terrorism.
This part, I think, is important. I know this is the boring part for most folks, but MSPM 7 instructs the federal government to 1. Treat domestic terrorism and organized political violence as a broad national security concern. 2. Mobilize federal agencies. The Attorney General, Secretary of Treasury, Homeland Security, Treasury, IRS, and Joint Terrorism Task Force are told to coordinate investigations, prosecutions, and strategies to disrupt what the memo labels organized networks and funding behind, quote, domestic terrorism. 3. It expands focus on politically motivated acts. The directive includes a wide range of behaviors, from violent crimes like assault, arson, and destruction of property to politically charged acts like organized doxing, swatting, and civil disorder as priorities for investigation under the terrorism rubric. And you can find all of this on the White House website, by the way. Number 4, focus on financial sources. The Treasury Department and IRS are ordered to track and interrupt funding streams that allegedly support violent and political activity. So the Treasury Department and IRS are ordered to track and interrupt funding streams that allegedly support political activities. 5, potential recommendations to, quote, designate domestic terrorist organizations. While there's no legal authority to officially designate domestic groups as terrorist organizations under U.S. law, the authority exists only on foreign groups. The Attorney General may recommend lists of entities whose actions meet the definition of, quote, domestic terrorism, which critics say could be broadly interpreted. MSPM 7 does not create new criminal laws. It rules on existing statutes and law enforcement authorities, but it does direct agencies to use them in this context. The memo's language of domestic terrorism and political violence is broad, and it does raise civil liberties concerns. Critics, including civil rights groups and legal experts, argue it could be used to justify investigations into political activism, nonprofits, and speech protected by the First Amendment. 9/11 gave us the Patriot Act. And apparently, they are saying that doesn't go far enough. And if you pay attention, when it says interrupt funding for groups, it says both violent and political activities. So they don't have to be violent. It could be just a group participating in 100% lawful activity, organizing, or having a fundraiser. It's dangerous to give authority like this. Our federal government and state government have enough authority to enforce the law as it is. They don't need more.
The president's memo broadly and vaguely links violent conduct to ideologies, and it targeted specifically anti-American, anti-Christian, and anti-capitalist beliefs, as well as, quote, hostility to so-called traditional American views on family, religion, and morality, end quote. Holding beliefs that the White House disagrees with is not a crime. And the statute defining domestic terrorism requires criminal acts, not just thoughts and ideas. Section 3 of that memo directed you, as Attorney General, to submit to the President and Stephen Miller a list of groups or entities whose members are engaged in acts that meet the definition of domestic terrorism. And then on December 4th, you directed the FBI to work with a variety of law enforcement entities to compile a list of groups and entities engaged in such acts. Have prepared that list of groups or entities who are designated as domestic terrorist organizations, and I just remind you that's a yes or no question. Did you prepare the list?
I'm not going to answer it yes or no, but what I will say is I know Antifa is part of that. I will talk to you about that.
I'm reclaiming
and on
my
February
time.
5th,
I asked you
2025,
whether you
an Antifa member
a
was
list.
arrested.
Lady can proceed.
Okay. So will you commit to providing this committee with any list of organizations that you have recommended be designated as domestic terrorist organizations?
We will comply with the law in all matters.
Will you commit to provide this committee with your list of entities that you recommend be designated as domestic terrorist organizations?
I'm not going to commit to anything to you because you won't let me answer questions. Okay. I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing. I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And
Burn book. Just remember the name of it. Came to me. See that binder? She's got that. It could be either or it could be both. But that's called a burn book. And she's got that broken down by the Congress people's names that she doesn't agree with. And she could very quickly flip to that tab. And she's going to have all kinds of intelligence that could make that person look bad.
Yet now, all of a sudden, she's going after.
Committee will be in order.
For 18 years, you prosecuted serious felony cases, including drug cases, correct?
Oh, I prosecuted homicides. I prosecuted capital cases. I prosecuted domestic violence cases. I prosecuted multiple cases, and that's why I feel for all of these victims. And did you ask Merrick Garland this when you were sitting before him, sir?
How many lives have been derailed because your department was either sloppy and incompetent or willfully trying to intimidate and punish these ladies for coming forward?
I like to see how many times Epstein shows up in the files, just for shits and gigs. I know that those are his files, but that'd be fun. That'd be fun. But yeah,
just search the email address.
Harrowing, man, harrowing. Because these people, like, their whole vibe is, I get away with this. Fucking do something about it.
Because that's what they do. Because that's what they've always done, and it's what they always want to do.
You know what it is, though? Because, like, this is what fucks with me. Not even fucks with me, but just, like, kind of still shocks me a little bit, is, like, how open they are behind the scenes talking like idiots. Like I don't know, if have you ever been anywhere and, like, I don't know, in a club, right, where you're like, let me still talk low because even though I have to shout, God forbid the music stops and I'm calling the DJ a retard or something like that, you know, and then the whole club hears you and you get laughed at, whatever. Like, do they think they exist in a bubble that's unhackable, unpenetratable? Like, this shit came out. They look like fucking egregious, stupid people. Like, Jeffrey Epstein's supposed to be smart, and he looks like a fucking retard in these files.
Do you know what they all look like? Every single one of them, almost every single one of them, they look like every other criminal that's tried to cover for their crimes.
Clearly, we now know he's a fucking liar. Like 100% proven now. Like, he can't squirm out of this. Yeah,
How dare you, sir?
Well, like, all right, he had that whole play of, like, we remember this giant tractor-trailer size shredder trucks that were pulling up to the White House and stuff before Trump got in, right? So there was always that plausible deniability of they could have shredded enough, but no, this was in their possession. This was on Pam Bondi's desk, quote unquote, even though 3 million files wouldn't fit in the fucking room. But hey, you know, hey, man, I mean, try and find something a little closer to fucking reality than there is nothing prosecutable in these files.
Epstein conspired against me. Did you know that, Mr. Senator? But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country, too. Millions and millions every week. You know, when Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him.
Bullshit. We haven't shut the fuck up about this, and it was our relentless not shutting the fuck up that caused these shits to get out now.
Like, if we caught one, that means we got a lot more and a lot worse out there.
Yep. It's usually how investigations work too, right? Like, you catch the one, and it's usually a medium fish, because very fucking rarely is the first one you catch. Yeah, very rarely is the first one you catch anywhere near the top of that fucking organization. It usually takes years and years of investigating. So, you got the one Epstein. Oh, you got the top guy. Okay, now get every other motherfucker he was involved with. Like, and the above, because I don't believe he was the fucking top guy. Like, I'm not retarded.
No. I think that's hard to believe, right?
it's credible, she can release it. If a document is credible, if a document...
I love that he changed the language to credible as well. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, but what he doesn't realize is that the DOJ is pretty fucking credible when it comes to documents in court. So technically it's all credible, you fucking moron. Technically everyone is now credible by that standard.
It almost gives him an excuse to reach in and say, nope, that's not credible. We can't share that. Well, who says, Mr. President? I did. I'm the one that made the rule.
Oh, man. The fucked up thing is, like, that's what the FBI is for, and the CIA. The CIA gets more information that's less credible, right? And then it's filtered through the agencies, and they test how credible it is.
Yes.
You know, and then it makes
apparatus has worked for decades. Yes.
Well, sort of, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say it's tried and true and it works 100% of the time, but it's what we fucking got now, when he's already going around the corrupt system to do more corrupt shit. It's, I don't know, I can't also understand, like is Pam Bondi a fucking child? Like, I've never seen a more snotty response from anybody about, like, you didn't do a fucking thing for your job. And then I don't know. I'm just gonna bite my tongue.
No, I'm with you, because that whole argument when they say, you know, we wanted the information on these people, and you didn't get it to us in a timely manner, and then what you got to us, a lot of it was redacted, not protecting the victims, but protecting the perpetrators. And when they present her with that question, the response is, well, you didn't ask the last attorney general about that.
Yeah, but insane.
Who cares? You're the attorney general now, right?
It is also the thing.
It's crazy.
We didn't have 3 million files when that attorney general was around, right? But you know what? She was in Pam Bondi was in Florida in the fucking the best legal position to know every single thing being levied against Epstein from the government side. Like she would have seen all of that stuff in real time as it was coming out in Florida when it was happening, when it was being litigated in Florida. So like, I don't know. I've even with the James O'Keefe, if you can see if you can find the James O'Keefe undercover footage, because when, like, this is just timeline's sake, right? This is right before the binders got out, or right after the binders got out, and they were starting to get looked at funny because of the fucking binders.
Video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing.
The video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was, Flak.
Oh, but the video evidence of them doing the act, that's not credible. The deepfakes didn't come out yet, but because the deepfakes eventually came out, it's possible that deepfakes have existed. So, you know, deepfake. Mm-hmm. Is there any other fucking mumbo-jumbo terms we can use with these?
But I'm just saying,
morons?
I'm just saying it already happened, so it already was, so it didn't matter about the video.
Oh, yeah, but you don't need to look at that. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes
he
sense.
committed
It's not
suicide.
like,
and what we learned
add
from Bureau
evidence
of
together
Prisons
with
was
other
every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night.
So it's 2026, but they have a video recorder on a high-risk, high-value prisoner who's on suicide watch using a 1990-something camcorder system.
Yeah, you can't make up this shit because, like, insurance wouldn't allow you to get paid off of a grainy video like that. Like, let's say you had video of the fire that burned all of your belongings. They would go, that's too grainy, doesn't work for us. But they're using this for fucking what? Make it make sense. You can't make it make sense. You can't make it make sense.
You can't. That's why people people's minds are blowing right now, because I think a lot of people are starting to realize, like, oh shit, this is a bunch of bullshit, and all these sick bastards are involved.
I'd also propose a question: where was all this outrage over the last 4 years when Director Wray was over the FBI and Attorney General Garland was over?
Look, if y'all weren't mad about kids getting raped 4 years ago, we ain't gonna be mad about them getting raped now.
I hate that.
Hello.
Like, I hate that that's their excuse, especially when, like, we know the past 5 years they've all been saying, oh, it's a conspiracy. Shut up. Don't look at it. Don't look at the evidence. You're not allowed to look. Don't do your own research. Trust me, bro. Nothing's here. And now that it's proven something's there, we've got to be retarded and blind to it. Like, fuck off. Fuck off.
Over 300 million people in this country, and these are the cats running things.
So dumb. They look so fucking... Like, I didn't realize how dumb Pam Bondi was until this situation. Like,
yeah,
you can always tell somebody's intelligence by their excuses for their fuck-ups,
and also, right? if they get emotional when you challenge them on decisions, right? Like, most people, they can take critical feedback like that and not internalize it and use it to grow. When they get emotional and snap, that's not a good sign of it.
An emotional politician should never be fucking a thing. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be level-headed for the rest of us. Like, you're supposed to be, like, not getting clickbaited into making dumb fuck decisions all the time.
The United States, Pam Bondi, was at the White House and disclosed what she represented as brand new information in relation to Jeffrey Epstein: the existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child
I don't know if they
now, this is the first time an official. Prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been.
Okay.
So,
any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons of thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken about the, quote, mountain of evidence in the Epstein case, but they've never, previous to that moment, acknowledged on the existence of videos of, quote, little kids. Just a few days later, at 2 p.m. on May 1st.
So she gets caught just eating brunch saying this stuff?
Oh yeah, and no, this is the thing with the investigation for those, right? Like, they find that type of material, they try and figure out who the victim is, they try and figure out the area it's done in, and they try to figure out the extent of the crime, how many other videos could have been done, if it's a ring, if it's like, and that's just one video. Tens of thousands. They're going to have to put that same work in and do the same thing. So if she's telling you that it's all just videos that he found online, that's bullshit. Because they would have had to do diligence. And from what we've seen in the redacted, like where there's giant blocks over the thing, you can see that it's in his house and that it's with children and that there's other grown adults in there. There's one where a dog started hopped on a girl. You know what I mean? And there's some CEO of some fucking company walking around in the background.
Sure.
Like, this shit is crazy, man.
Just another day. So, all right. So let's get to your theory. Miss Giselle Maxwell goes.
Giggling, Gizaggling. I think that for the rest of the show, we should not pronounce her name correctly out of respect for the victims.
I am.
Jizzface Lane.
Jizzface Maxwell.
That's the one.
Okay, so this is her at Terra. What is it?
Terramar.
Terramar. Okay. Let's take a look at this is a kind of a short speech she gives at Terramar, and then we're going to hear Flak break some news, y'all.
Therefore, I invite my dear friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, to tell us how we can own the oceans. Please.
I'll do my best. First of all, Your Excellencies, Presidents, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, I just would like to thank you so much, and it's such an honor to be here. I'm here representing civil society. My passion for the ocean, for those of you, there's a slideshow going up there, so you don't just have to hear me, you can see the pictures as well. Started when I was a little girl. I grew up watching Jacques Cousteau on TV and became mesmerized with the oceans. It led to me becoming a deep worker submersible pilot.
So a little tie-in with Jacques Cousteau. Jacques Cousteau was friends with Epstein. His daughter was friends with Epstein, even more so with Ghislaine. Ghislaine had a submarine license. They would do deep sea underwater dives. And I believe when Virginia was 19, there was kind of like a budding relationship between Jacques Cousteau's daughter and her on the island, off the island. She goes into detail about it. But funny enough that she brings this in, because this is probably around the time that she gets sued for being a trafficker. Not Jacques Cousteau's daughter, but Ghislaine. And that was in the testimony of Virginia Giuffre. Also in her Billionaire Playboys book, the one that never made it to print, that one was in, but you can find that in the Epstein documents, the original 2019 release. The FBI went through all those.
What else is interesting is that if you are on an island, knowing how to pilot a helicopter and a submarine are great skills to have. I mean, just throwing it out there.
And they also can't hear you scream. Remember that, folks. Stay within screaming distance. Screaming buddy system. You want to stay within screaming distance of civilization at all times.
Right. Don't go to any islands.
Or a plastic hanger. It was in that moment, actually, that I decided that I really wanted to focus my attention on the ocean. And the area of the ocean that I chose to focus on was the high seas.
Do you remember the movie? Do you remember the movie Wedding Crashers?
Dude, do I remember the movie Wedding Crashers?
One of the best films ever.
Yeah, didn't it win a couple of Oscars?
Oh, it should have. I think a Tony, or at least should have won a man named Tony to come and present him with an Oscar.
Okay.
You know? I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
But so it just reminds me of when that piece of shit is dating the one that Owen Wilson likes, right?
Yes.
And he's at the table and he's trying to talk about how when he saved these seals from being covered in fucking oil. You know, I feel like at the mid part of her going on and trying to rail on about the ocean, just intercut with that, you know, this is if we had time, you know, like that's what I would be splicing in right now is him pantomiming the crying fucking seal, you know, because fuck Ghislaine, she doesn't care about anything. She's trying to say is like, oh, there's pollution down there, mate. There's pollution. There's the sea turtles sucking on the plastic straws. This Schrodinger's water, though. But this is the problem with conservationism in the water, right? Like, we don't know how big it is. We don't know what's down there. So, therefore, we don't know how polluted or how fucked up the fish are or if they're racist in the ocean. We don't know these things because we can't access these parts, you know? So, just as much as it could be fucked up, and that's what she's trying to portray is like, we need more conservation for the water, blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. We know your game. She's going for an area that, like, no matter how much effort she puts in, no one could ever tell if she's done a good job or not. It's smart,
right?
You know, but she could literally go in the ocean, splash around, and be like, "Look, I changed everything," and no one can tell.
There are probably certifications that are very easily just paid for, right?
Oh yeah, she was also trying to do.
Because I paid the membership fee.
Well, that's the kicker was she was giving out passports, right? And I don't know how valid these passports really were, but what the fuck is the point of a passport if it's not valid? You know,
yeah, how are you giving away passports?
Rich people don't like dumb things, you know, that just sit around on a shelf, right? Like those dumb things that are taking up real estate have to be worth money. You know, like a little tiny statue that's $100,000. This is why they're rich. That's why they buy the little rich fucking things. You know, they are not going to spend $100,000 to donate so they get a fucking useless little trinket. They don't care about trinkets. But they think of us as trinkets.
Yes.
They don't want any of us here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know. She's just she gets away with having that British accent and sounding smart, but she's a fucking idiot. And she's just, this is all, because like now that I'm hearing all this, like not for the first time, I know what it is. This is, hey, I'm money laundering, hop on in this. This is like early pump and dump shit, right? And I know that because she was what is it? Not dissoluting, but the dissolution of her businesses at the rate and timings, we're all curious. We'll just leave it at that, you know, especially with the amounts of payouts and how much is owed when they're done and they go bankrupt. You know, like these motherfuckers knew what they were doing. And it was all tied in with art and stuff too. Like art usually appreciates, very rarely depreciates when you buy the right artist, you know, and then, so like, let's say you own a hotel, right? Every 6 months to a year, you get an untold amount of money that you can go and renovate with. You could then take those renovations and put them against tax dollars. You could then buy endless amounts of art and put those against tax dollars for renovation, you know, like for decoration stuff in there. Then you charity, quote unquote. So like you donate $100,000 to Ghislaine. Ghislaine gives you a receipt back, says that you donated in perpetuity $200,000. Now your $100,000 just got you $200,000 in tax levity. You know, like where you wouldn't have to pay, right? Now let's say you own 15 to 20 different businesses. You can do this all along the line, and that's legal. What I'm describing is how they legally money launder with art in a non-illegal way. Now you start doing this with illegal businesses and using that as a way to hide and wash the money. That's what they were doing. And now you add Podesta with his art and embassies, and you add in Hillary Clinton with her ties in the art and embassies and the Clinton Foundation art and embassies shit. Yeah, dude, this is where they're all making their money, right? On the face of it, right? Because they get to advertise the art. And then that makes the art worth more money. It's like Pelosi legally being able to make billions on the fucking stock market for no reason.
So crazy.
You know?
Yes.
But this is just what we were able to see. You know, now the emails just point out like, oh, her spas, man. So Miss Wellness over here loved to open up health and wellness spas so you can go get a handy in the middle of Manhattan. You know, one was called something ecstasy, magic ecstasy spas, right? And had orgasmic tantric massages and crap. Like,
oh wow,
I don't know about that, man. It's not Reiki, so it's not like the lady's doing it to you from across the room. You know, these are hands-on handies.
Oh, good. Okay, so just to kind of get back on here, and Tara, oh, I can't remember.
Terrorist. She's a sensual terrorist. I think that's what you were going for. Oh, no, Terramar. That's what it was.
Terramar. Okay, so Terramar. So this is video here. She's
so much here today.
She's promoting this as some kind of a global supply
initiative,
chain type solution?
Well, not even supply chain. This is like, it's all of it, because she wants to get into shipping and all that, art embassies, hashtag evergreen, Hillary Clinton, that whole conspiracy rabbit hole. That's what that ties into, right? So this is proving what that is. You know, I'm hoping more of it breaks, because this is where you get human trafficking in shipping containers across international waters. And if they're, oh man, the obvious dumb stupid thing is to bring these women into public airports and on airplanes where pilots and things could see them. There's a reason why, like, the Sinaloa, you know what, I'm not going to say that one. There's a reason why cartels and Russian gangs and this and the other send women and children and things over on cargo ships.
Right.
Right? Because they're rarely checked, and it goes over international waters and they're going into ports, sometimes they're checked, but there's usually such a volume you can't check everything. So like there's entire industries built on this very illegal thing, and also entire industries built on catching these criminals,
So I like Tracy's question here. How close was Epstein and company to the people in the exploding sub? Remember that? I've never actually looked into that, but that's a great question.
Well, I have no idea. That's damn good, though. That's damn good.
There could certainly be.
That shit also happened around some other interesting things going on around the world at that time, too. To where it was very odd, and like...
It was very odd that the Navy knew they exploded and wouldn't share it to protect our undercover shit. That was very
What's funny is I had a conversation with somebody and I brought that up. I was like, they were like, oh man, I hope they're all right. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And they were like, what do you mean maybe? I hope they're okay? And I was like, no, I hope they're okay. But yeah, maybe if you're going to find out what fucking happened, and they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, our government already knows what happens. I was like, with all the sensors and data that they have in the ocean, they know exactly what happened, when it happened, and where it happened.
Oh yeah, the second
right? And this
happened.
Dude, this is 2 days before they came out and they said, oh, well, yeah, the military knew 2 days ago, and the military was letting everyone pray like fucking retards on the television things, like almost as if they wanted the media to have a big cry fest and a loosh farm from that, Oh, look, the design that Shepard Fairey from Obey came up with personally for Terramar and Ghislaine. Isn't that a nice little thing?
How does that happen?
Oh, money laundering through art.
Wow.
It's almost as if I make some sort of sense here.
Every once in a while,
Every so often I say things that, yep. Too bad that I'm usually supposed to be wrong, dude. I like saying wild things. It's not supposed to be fucking coming true. Sometimes they also make jokes.
Well,
because
what,
the
buddy?
obvious thing.
I was thinking that. I think a lot of us have been thinking that lately, like, holy shit, what else are we right about? Because we all have had these feelings that there's like this whole nother level controlling things. And there's this whole nother level kind of behind everything that we don't see. And we're starting to see. And it's crazy.
Well, like, right, we know it's definitive. He went to jail and got murdered for trafficking children. So did Ghislaine. We know this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not getting the list yet, but we know for a fact that them two did the thing that they said that they did, right? Like, since when did that ever not come with everything else involved in those two trades? This is the first time that it's just blatantly everything covered up,
Because, dude, think about who those people are whose names are blocked out.
Well, they also owned, like, that Leah Black and Roy Black thing. Like, they own a foundation to help troubled youth. Like, why do all these people that are supposed to be doing good for does that mean that every single one of them is bad?
Right. Well,
that to me is kind of crazy,
It gets back to like all the God, man, to me it gets back to all those rumors about the Kubrick film and what he was actually, you know, kind of uncovering there, like for real.
Yeah, dude, that one was a trip because like the more you watch it, the more shit you notice. You know, like
and if you do research on it at all, there's a lot of stories out there about how it was changed and it wasn't what it was supposed to be, and then his death happened right around then.
45 minutes on the cutting room floor, my friend.
Right. And there's a lot of talk about how that had to do with these elites doing what we're afraid they do with young ones, right?
Well, all right. So let's not get into the eyes wide shut because I feel like everyone has covered that. How about I blow your mind with a shining fact that Stanley Kubrick was also a part of. He directed that one.
He did?
Yes, he did.
And Stephen King was not a fan.
You hated it, even though I loved it. I thought it was a beautiful representation of the
Did you see the new
horrific
one?
book that was written. I don't think so.
The new one's pretty good. It's not a remake. It's the
Dr. Sleep? Yes, I saw it. I loved it. Yeah, it was very good. Because they do the whole loosh farming fucking vampires thing. The energy vampire shit, that was cool.
It's pretty dang good.
But so now with the Shining, right? So supposedly Danny is horribly abused by Jack, his father, right? And you notice that in the scene where he's wearing his little NASA rocket shirt, and he goes in, and his dad shuts the door, and he says something really fucking odd. And then from that point on, there's a fissure in the relationship with the mom and him. This is the movie. This is what Stanley Kubrick put into it, right? And then you also have that scene that's supposed to be a senator with the furry in the bedroom, okay? And that's another weird allusion to like politics, fucking, and getting compromat in hotel rooms. You know what I mean? So like,
right.
Kubrick was tied in because that was how long ago? What, the early 80s. You know, and I don't know, we're getting into some of that stuff now because that was also like rape and satanic abuse, alluding to the Parsons, Aleister Crowley angle with NASA. You know, like, dude's fucked, man. And I don't know, brother. Like, these are just interpretations of. Because they have also asked him what he meant by that scene, and he was like, "Yes, he was abused. You know, that's what created the split personality with the red rum thing in Danny. You know, the little boy."
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know.
So when you were theorizing on this Maxwell undersea deal, what were some of your theories there?
Like what she was trying to do with the ocean?
Yeah.
I think she was trying to get government grants to map the ocean and be able to exist tax-free in international waters to do whatever the fuck she wanted to do, right? Like, think of it to the proximity of like Biden's Island.
That's funny because that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, it seems more like is this when I'm looking at the map she was showing and stuff, and the fact that there's those different levels of the high seas and international waters, it made me think of, just like you're saying, like living outside of the law. Where can you skirt most of the law most of the time?
Yeah, and it looked like that was specifically what they were looking to do because she really only wanted to clue into the open waters, international waters only, angle, where it's like, why don't you just say like outside of the limit of the law? Because that's kind of like what she was replacing with the international water statement,
So we've got Maxwell. The idea
was going to be like a 30-part series. Okay, because you have to understand
to skirt international law, and then if you have submarines operating like this, then we know that can lead to all kinds of nefarious stuff.
So now there's 3 things to do with submarines that I found. I think Epstein had his own. I think that Ghislaine had her own, and I think that Stephen Hawking might have had one. And I say the last one kind of in jest, because there was an email of Woody Allen jokingly asking about if Epstein, I think it's Woody Allen. I might be wrong on that one, but someone was asking Epstein if Stephen Hawking's private submarine is real, and Epstein said yes. But I don't know if that was a joke or not. That would have been I would have said yes even if it wasn't real, just to fuck with the guy for asking me if Stephen Hawking's got a fucking submarine. Actually, it could have been Richard Kahn, now that I'm thinking about it, but it was still a funny statement.
I'm pretty sure that Paul Allen had an island and a yacht, and at the bottom of the yacht was a detachable submarine.
Oh yeah, dude, the CIA invented those, bro, and they are universal.
Insane.
Right? So that let's say if the Russians wanted to talk to the US, okay, and we can't have anybody ever find out about that one, right? But like they're allowed to. The Russian government knows about it. The U.S. government, they don't want China to know, whatever. What they'll do is they'll detach on their little tiny fucking submarine and pop off to the other one's boat and have their little meeting and then pop right the fuck back in that little thing and take off. That was in, what's it called as well? The Hunt for Red October. They discussed the invention of that thing. And all that shit, all the little facts are real in that movie, like, except for
how that happens?
the quote unquote technology for the one sub, but it is real. That other sub did have that technology too, so fuck that.
Yes. In that movie, The Abyss, the breathable liquid at that time was rumored to be one of the Navy's worst kept secrets. Everybody knew they had this like breathable type liquid that you had to work harder to breathe, but you can actually breathe liquid.
Yep. I thought that was so fake. And then I said to my dad, I was like, look at this dumb. And he was like, that shit is real. And I was like, it blew my mind because now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, how did my dad know that was real at that time? Because I was, I was probably like 5 or 6. I was like, you can't breathe water. That's bullshit. I've almost drowned. I know you can't breathe water.
We spend the first 9 months of our life breathing fluid. There's already gills in our lungs. That is
true. That is damn true. And that's kind of what I think they say in the movie, too, that he was like, man, you spend your first fucking however, because he was relatively skeptical of it as well. Mm-hmm. It is crazy. It's like an aerated gel type thing,
The aerogel?
Well, it's like
or the shit they breathe.
The shit they breathe. It's like air in a substrate of gel. I don't know what the fuck. Maybe it's placenta.
Ugh. So I thought you were messing with me when you told me that Maxwell was piloting this helicopter. She really was.
That bitch could fly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Fly helicopters and subs.
I'm going to set the stage right now, okay? It is like, all right, it's 2:00 in the morning. You finally are fed up with living on this island. You're fed up with being trafficked. You're fed up, and you're like, I'm going to get the fuck out of here, right? Mm-hmm. So you get your shit together and you fuck off the island. You hop into the water and you just start swimming for your ass, You somehow make it to Great St. James, the other island, right? And now you see this fucking helicopter up over your ass, just whipping, flipping, just doing spirals and spin arounds, and like I would probably swim right back to the other fucking island and be like, this bitch is crazy. Obviously, I'm outclassed here.
Look at that
like,
shit,
what do you
just
do?
flying backwards and doing flips and all kinds of shit. It wasn't
Dude,
like
I
she
heard-
knew how to fly. It was like she knew how to fly.
Dude. That's like that's intelligence training, man. You don't
Right? It's like some kind of military shit.
Because this is the thing too, right? Like, very rarely do you get two things, right? The amount of money to not worry about ruining a $10 million helicopter by whipping it around like that, and two, having that kind of money and still possessing the balls to do that with the the learning curve on that has to be 100% perfect, right? Because if you fuck up doing that once, you die.
Yes.
You know, like there is no saving your ass in a helicopter. It's coined as a bag of bricks. You know, there is no safety in a helicopter falling. You hit the ground like a bag of rocks.
Have you ever listened to Bill Burr talk about piloting? He pilots helicopters.
The everyman's pilot.
Is Terra Max still operating without her?
No, it dissolved. Then it went to, Now this is a weird. This is a weird thing that I found out, right? Or I would like maybe a bit of insight onto this. So Ghislaine gets busted. This one, Jeffrey Epstein gets busted, and they sell Terramar to a beauty, a beauty care company in South America.
Okay.
The same area that supposedly, within one of the same areas that Terramar and Green Team operated. Right now, Green Team is another one of Ghislaine's, but Her Royal Highness, little fancy pants something, who was 9 years old in 2011, when all of Green Team's documents got switched from Ghislaine and Robert Foos. Big name, Robert Foos. He was a U.S. Coast Guard that was running all of operations. He was chief of operations for Terramar, and a U.S. Coast Guard, but he was doing like all her dirty work behind the scenes. And now he is I believe he's selling real estate in Rhode Island or something like that. And you can find him on LinkedIn. Robert Foos, folks, don't let this man get away with trafficking children to South America, allegedly.
This was after Bondi testified today.
I interviewed 6 survivors of Epstein's abuse and 2 family members who tell me they feel that the Justice Department is not taking accountability. We've got that conversation here on our NBC News Now special coverage. Thank you all so much for being here. I know you literally have just come over off of Capitol Hill, where the Attorney General had appeared for that hearing in front of the House Judiciary Committee. I want to do just a couple of show of hands moments on how you feel about that, and then I want to talk about your reaction to everything we heard today. So with the show of hands, can you show me your hands if you were satisfied with what you heard from the Attorney General today? Nobody. Show of hands if you are frustrated with what you heard.
Very much so.
Very much so. Teresa, tell me more about that.
Well, going into this morning, and much of this process, I have this perspective that you need to give people the opportunity to do what they say they're going to do, to fulfill their word, put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And we have yet again seen that go the complete opposite direction of there's no integrity. There was no integrity in that room today, it seemed like, when it came to Epstein and Maxwell. You know, there was a lot of expression of other good outcomes on things, and I can agree with a lot of what was said. And there was nothing that gave us any bit of hope of any kind of integrity and doing the right thing when it comes to Epstein Maxwell accountability, further investigation, which she claimed was happening. And we're going to be waiting to see the outcome of that and see if that's an accurate, legitimate statement.
Danny, I see you nodding and shaking your head.
I think there was such a lack of empathy today. There was such a lack of, honestly, humanity today. Something that, I think all of us felt a little devastated about was that She had 3 opportunities to address survivors. We stood up, and all she had to do was turn around, and she could not even turn around and face us. For so many years, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I felt like such a ghost walking through Epstein's mansion. I felt like there were so many people who saw me. There were so many people who should have spoken up. And instead, I felt like I was less than nothing. And now to not have AG Bondi turn around and acknowledge us, it is the exact same type of victimization. It's horrible.
Charlene, what did you think of that moment?
She's
when
the
you all
same
were
type of
standing
people,
there
folks.
and,
That's why.
and she was asked
Because
by one of the
she's
members of Congress
someone
to turn
who
around
doesn't
and address
mind
you?
stepping on a victim to get ahead.
Really degraded. I felt that she's not taking
100%
at all any accountability. She's not following any kind of transparency. And honestly, the thought that I have is birds of a feather flock together. So I feel like the way that she handled today is...
We come from a community that gets mad when people grift off fucking dumb shit like UFOs, right? Like, this is people grifting off of, like, sexual abuse victims who were children at the time. Like, that's 10 times worse, right? And these are our politicians and our Congress people. That's Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino better not come the fuck back to a podcast that works for him because he grifted off of fucking children.
I thought he already did. I thought he's already back
He
to
did,
podcasts.
but I hope he gets enough shit that he runs away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it was funny to see the flip-flop from, Epstein was murdered, and then his first official statement once he's inside is Epstein killed himself.
Dude, that was so
funny
bad,
how that works?
bro. What the fuck, man?
Okay.
Oh, dude.
So I want to, while we're talking about, and we'll come back to this, but while we're talking about people that do terrible things to children, if you still have any doubt in your mind about how terrible people can be to children, this man here wrote the book about a guy that used to pretend to be a Rockefeller. And at the end of the day, what ultimately got him busted was he had a custody agreement with his ex-wife, and he ended up kidnapping the child because, you hear that, you read that, and you go, oh, he just wanted to be with the child so bad, right? Check this out. This is his own flesh and blood.
First missing persons investigation, and then murder investigation, which is what it became in '94. Living under this new name and new identity, Clark Rockefeller. Had he not kidnapped, he could not have a driver's license. He never filled out a tax form. All his bank accounts were his wife's accounts. He could do nothing that got him on the radar of the authorities. If he had not kidnapped his daughter and been caught, there is no way he would have ever been found. They were not even getting close. So was it his undoing? Yes. The question is why he kidnapped her. And a lot of people wanting to see sort of American sentimental sides to every story say, here's this psychopathic con artist, but darn it, he loved his daughter so much that he kidnapped her, and that was his undoing. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not why he kidnapped her. He kidnapped her because, and it's a long story, he was going to take her to South America and rendezvous with another guy who had impregnated a woman for the precise reason of abusing the child that came from the marriage. This guy had actually signed a contract with a woman down in South America to have a child and take it away from her when it was 3. And then kidnapped that child when the woman reneged on the contract. Right before I finished knowing Clark, he asked me if I would like to get in on a scheme to breed children with third world women who would have no rights to the children. And that's when I broke off my friendship with him. I went, he's gone crazy.
Huh. That sounds kind of familiar.
Yep. Just think if the big glaring thing that's slapping everybody in the face is no longer, hey, he just wanted kids to repopulate the world. What if he was just making a whole army of kids he could abuse, just generation after generation?
Yeah. And that's what's crazy. I don't know how much you're a fan of documentaries, but there's so many of these cult documentaries where it starts out, love and light or whatever, and then before you know it, all the guys' wives have to sleep with the cult leader. Like, it never fails.
Yep.
In this case, to take your own flesh and blood to try to sell them to someone who's known for doing this to children in South America is beyond evil.
This is part of Fiona Burnett's story, a bit with Nicole Kidman's father, and he killed himself pretty much right after Fiona came out with the story. And it gets pretty dark, but it's very similar. They come from a very well-off family with very, very deep ties to money and other families with money. And it's crazy. Plus, she was also in Eyes Shut, Nicole Kidman.
Okay, let's get back over these victims. Now, again, this was Pam Bondi just testified today. So this was just a few short hours ago. And these are the actual victims responding to that testimony.
And the way that our president or other people have treated us that are really high up. And I felt like she was treating us just like everybody else has in the justice system and beyond.
I was looking at you all. The cameras there had shown a view of you in that moment on your feet in front of this hearing room, in front of all of these cameras. And I wonder, Jess, Liz, all of you, if you can take me, what was going inside in your mind? What was happening in your mind? What were you thinking as that moment was happening?
So one of the things I was thinking in that moment is that it is such a simple act to turn around and say, I apologize for the terrible job our DOJ did in releasing, that is something that is completely inappropriate, to take responsibility for that, for the damage they did to us, not to state it as, yes, we understand damage was done. No, to us. It was such a simple thing. And it's something we teach children, to take accountability, to recognize when you've made a mistake and you just apologize.
So if you watch the whole hearing, she was given 3 different occasions by 3 different senators to turn around and address the victims about the issues, right? The fact that some of their names were in the documents and they weren't all redacted and protected. The fact that some of these scumbags that were participating in this shit, their names were protected. So 3 separate times, if you watch this whole hearing, they asked her, do you want to address the victims? And she turned it down all 3 times.
Apologize for it. So there wasn't even an adult in the room that could apologize for the damage done to children and girls.
In her opening remarks, the Attorney General said, I am deeply sorry for what any victim has been through, especially as a result of that monster.
Monster. But not. So there's the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, and then there's the crimes of the cover-up. And she's part of that continuing cover-up. So she didn't apologize for that.
But when she said that monster, she said it as if he acted alone.
Yes.
And Epstein was absolutely a monster, but he didn't act alone. And I think that we now have more evidence of that from what we've seen in the files. And what is really difficult for me to wrap my head around is...
Didn't that wacky lady who sued Trump for it was like Bloomingdale's, or like he accosted her in a dressing room, right? Like
okay, yeah,
a I think she literally only had, she came out with a dress that she said she wore that day, but the dress also didn't come out until like 5 years later, right? But it was literally her sworn testimony that got Trump to pay out how much fucking money on that one, right? 94 million or something like that.
No way.
Right? Yeah. This is right before he got in to the presidency.
Okay.
Right. I wish I could remember her name because she was a wacky woman. Her cat's name was Pussy or Vagina, something fucking weird like that, dude. Like
I just
and
know
her
about
dog had a
Stormy
strange
Daniels. That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, this is because I didn't give her too much credibility because she was so strange, like and like she kept calling rape sexy in interviews while she's trying to talk about this thing with Trump. Yeah, very weird. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put a victim down, but like, this woman was fucking strange, dude.
Right.
But she won the suit against Trump without a class action, without 50 people being joined in on that, with other similar testimony. She got it on that alone. And we're going to say that there's no such thing as a fucking client list of Epstein's, even though look at that panel of women who are all, none of them look as wacky as the woman who claimed Trump did that, right?
Right.
But these women all look like they got their shit together enough to be very, like, imagine that happened to you, because if that would have happened to me, I don't know if I would have ended up as well adjusted as these women here.
Who knows, man?
That just speaks to their credibility, right?
Right. Yeah, they say something like that. I'm sure you have to be a woman to understand, but they say something like that really does. It affects your whole life. It changes who you are. I can't see how it couldn't, getting violated like that. The whole thing is, it's not even done, dude. We're like in the first chapter, we haven't even got to chapter 2.
Yeah. That's the saddest part, though, when like the clock is running out. You have to realize like a lot of his cohorts and things were a bit older. A few have already died. The Abercrombie, the weird Abercrombie connection to all this, especially with like the CEO that was friends with Les Wexner and all that stuff. Like, he got out because he was too old and senile to take any kind of accountability for himself. And I'll tell you this, I went and applied for the, I think it was like South Street Seaport Abercrombie and Fitch store, and I did about a week. Yeah, I did a week in the fucking stockroom, right?
Okay.
And I was like 16, maybe 17 when I went, which means I looked like I was 14 at the time because I fucking still look crazy young. Back then, it was even worse.
Probably.
And well, I was told, like, this is the thing. I get very weird with certain situations, and I can read things pretty well, if you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I was offered to do a private, just kind of what they claimed with the lawsuit. Like, I was offered a private interview where I try out to be a member of the floor staff. And I said, no, thanks. Put me in the stockroom. Like, I could fold shirts. You don't need to bring me to a private fucking interview. Like, dude, that story was weird and creepy, bro. And it was like a bunch of older, very touchy gay men who were, let's say, like a hiring staff. Oh, we got Red.
Yeah, Red, what's up, buddy?
What up, guys? I'm working on stuff too, so it's gonna be kind of like more like can't be super engaged, but I'll be here. I'll be talking, hanging out, but just know that I'm like also like working a bunch of shit too.
So make sure and subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. We love Red over here, and his research chops. He's pretty good at that shit. So yeah,
and
man,
activated.
Activated. Yeah, this Epstein shit did kind of activate you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
can tell, dude.
So we're able to talk about Pizzagate in the mainstream now. Like, it's like a decade's worth of shit that's just been building up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm cross-referencing every conspiracy now with the Epstein files, man. I'm trying to see what this fucker had his hands in. It's pretty great.
Some of this shit, I can't. It's hard to even read, man. I think we all read the torture and the torture video.
Yeah, but the girls were doing it. These girls were demons, bro.
Yep.
Yeah,
that Sarah Kellum, dude.
Wild.
Sarah Kellum, she's been named for fucking ever. And I don't know how she's had husbands. She was married, one of his other girlfriends and procurer was married to a fucking NASCAR driver. Like after Epstein.
What?
Yeah, dude. Like
where Bobert said that a lot of the redacted names are not just women, but like women who are currently in the public eye, like trying to act like they're victims only. It's pretty wild, right? Kind of makes sense, but it's kind of a plot twist, bro.
It does make sense. So yeah, they can try to if they can make them accessories, it's easier for them to kind of manipulate, you're in it with us now, so
Like that's like criminal or enterprise 101.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why have someone be around you for so long if they're not mutually invested, mutually assured destruction type vibes?
Wow.
Oh, you missed the explanation of my avatar, right? So that picture right there is Leah Black. She's like a reality TV star from, I think, Housewives of Florida, some shit like that. Her husband was the one who was like a key lawyer in coming up with Epstein's sweetheart deal in 2008, right? Mm-hmm. So being friends with Epstein and that close, you would think that like, oh, that's pretty odd that they would own a outreach for troubled teens, right? Very strange. But the photograph that I have there is Roy Black, his lawyer, holding up a pair of adult film star underwear that are used with her picture for the fundraiser of the children who were abused and are runaway teenagers and stuff like that. Like this is how fucked up these people are. And this is a non-public auction, right? So they didn't think this photograph would ever see the light, but this is on.
This is one of those Lou Elizondo dead baby photo auctions. I'm telling you guys, it's not fucking like, let's put two and two together. Motherfuckers getting photos of dead babies, bro, hanging out with Gaga. Like, you already know I looked up Elizondo in the files, but I think Gary Nolan's going to be in one of these upcoming batches, bro.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's funded by Thiel, allegedly. He sounds just like genetics. They talk about basal ganglia in there. I still meant to clip that. Tuba found that. And Tuba said the emails where Epstein's emailing someone else at Stanford about the basal ganglia sound exactly how Gary Nolan talks about the basal ganglia. With the part of the brain like is responsible for psionic
trying
shit.
To do just like be able to manipulate people with ESP. You think that's what he was trying?
Yeah, I'm probably just curious too. I'd imagine probably just curious like us. We are. But part of me thinks they might even be fucking reptilians, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not putting anything past any of it, especially like after that weird Clinton photograph. Did you see him sitting next to his wife and it looks like a fucking
is that
demon.
real?
Yeah, that's real, but like I can't tell you what's happened in it. Like what the fuck is wrong with the filter? But it looks like it's a pretty old photo.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking scary looking. I read something the other day that kind of blew my mind. It's estimated between 50 and 70% of all beings on Earth today are chimera invader race people of a vast cadre of varying abilities and appearances. Have you guys heard this?
No, what does that even mean? Like we're space people or what?
Well, bloodline shit, I think is what it means.
Yeah,
old bloodlines.
Many of these use their advanced powers of holographic projection to make themselves appear like an everyday human. When the Nibiru Looking Glass Chimera reality simulation finally collapses, and it is expected to collapse soon, humans, as well as many, many hybrids, will be shocked and terrified at who is around them, akin to the movie They Live. Those of very pure pass-through bloodlines can make their animal-insect hybrid form appear to look just like any other human on the street using their hologram. These beings all know who they are and are fully immersed in the siege against us. Some chimeras have absolutely no idea what they are or where they came from, as they've become disconnected with the rest of the invaders and are unaware of how to use their projection powers. It's better you prepare now for this rather than later, to give you time to research this topic so you are more emotionally ready to see what is set to unfold before this all over. As the Nibiru Beyond the Looking Glass Chimera reality simulation, Chimera reality for short, is coming down even as we speak. Dun, dun, dun.
I believe that. Where's that coming from, though? I believe that shit.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Richard Doty.
right?
It's coming from
Actually,
Richard Doty.
This
No,
was just
I don't. Allegedly.
random. Yeah, it was a random post on X I just thought was really fascinating.
You know, we've talked about Camelio, right? The book
No.
Camelio. I think I talked about it with you, Flak, if I'm not mistaken. But Camelio.
Refresh.
It was that book that it's like touches on gang stalking, and it's about like some dude with like from like the mid 2000s. He's a Marine Camp Pendleton. He goes AWOL, leaves the base, goes to this drug dealer's house, and then he starts getting gang stalked by like people from like SAIC and shit like that. And basically the impetus of it all was that apparently he left the base with some of those glasses, some of the basically like they live glasses, like they were like some weird night vision shit, but they let you like see like all these UFOs in the sky and like basically like reptilian people and shit like that, and that's why he was being like stalked so hard, because they were trying to get the glasses back.
That's fucking crazy.
That also reminds me a bit of the blue iodide. Was it like an indigo colored lens? And this is before the whole Vietnam era, like IR lenses. Like this is I don't know, maybe 1920s, 1930s. But then they were taken off the market. They kind of look like welding glasses with a weird pigment placed in between two glass screens. And the claims were you can see auras, you can see all sorts of weird ephemeral shit outside like normal perception. And that's one of the things that inspired They Live. But I don't know. They sell like a facsimile now.
Yeah, somebody's started making them again, didn't they?
They're plastic and they're not the same.
Yeah.
They're not the exact same thing. I would go for the exact same thing, like build it the old timey way. I'd buy those for more money.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
But it's weird though. The other thing you were talking about, that kind of goes along with all right, so Epstein, 23andMe, blood tests are all over those fucking emails, man. Like blood kits, right? Because I was like, hey, I tried blood ritual. That didn't come up. That showed nothing. So then I just typed blood, and then all those fucking kit things came up, and then it reminded me of what Tracy Twyman was talking about with obsession with some of these billionaire types with genetics and bloodlines, and then you have the Rothschilds that were willing to do extreme amounts of incest in order to keep things in the family, wealth and power and whatever other shit.
I'm starting to feel like there is this, like the reason Matt Brown left all that weird cryptic shit is because there is something to it. Like there is a world we're not seeing.
Oh yeah, I think they get something from it. I think there's probably, it's sounding morbid, but there's probably some not positive, but like there's benefits to sacrificing babies and all this weirdo shit. Probably getting some knowledge, probably getting a fucking crazy high from these angel demon things.
Oh,
And you know what
just
I
think
mean?
of intimidation alone, right? Just on intimidation alone. Like there's no law right now, right? This is before any kind of laws or whatever. A bunch of people are acting fucking stupid, going after power, and you pick up that, you massacre that in front of this entire group, and then they go, oh, this is the fucking crazy one that none of us are going to cross now because I'm not ever willing to do something that terrible. You know, so it's a good intimidation buffer. And that's what you see with Epstein and all this. Like, Ghislaine was a fucking cunt in front of a lot of people to a lot of people. So
that's what I heard.
Just it's all intimidation so that they can see how things happen.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go. I'm back. It glitched out on me.
A vat of sulfuric acid, and the emails about getting rid of like murder, torture. The fuck is the FBI doing?
Did you see the tunnel videos?
Yeah, this what I was playing earlier was the was this guy right here, yeah. Fucking weird.
Right. So there's one where the tunnels are real dark. And you see barrels all over the fucking ground. And then in a few of the emails they talk about, hey, we need to clean the tunnel system out. What do I do with the barrels and the this and the that? He's like, destroy whatever you can, leave the rest. It was like a demo job, so they didn't care about what was in there. And then I noticed the barrels in this video. Yeah, I'll point it out once they show up.
What's wild is how big they are. Like they're fucking big tunnels. They're not little.
Yep. I would have said from the size alone, it looks like it would have been the bigger island of his. You know? But this also looks like it could be, I don't know, governmental infrastructure for maybe before. Maybe he bought an island that was defunct military, you know, secret military base or some shit. Because this looks
definitely possible.
I can't see him being able to do this so quickly in the time that he did it in.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that? That is wild.
Could be a lot of desalinization and stuff like that. He did have a water plant on his island, and that's what they were saying the sulfuric acid was for. It was like a desalinization.
So these tunnels are on the island, because I always thought this was like in New York or something.
That's what I thought until I seen the fucking barrels down there. You know, and then there is a portion where they do go out, and it is very tropical. You know, it looks like it could be one of the islands.
Right.
And I did find corresponding emails all talking about island tunnel maintenance, fixing shit, demolishing old parts that are becoming decrepit. Then I also found a diagram of, so his it looks kind of like a C. An exaggerated C, his main compound on the island, right? The big manor house. But there is a tunnel section that's drawn and written and then sent over as plans to an excavation company or whatever. I think it was like I can never remember the fucking name of this place, but it's the same people that I found the invoices asking them about tunnels and dredging and putting in electrical lines for he had microwave dishes on Little St. James and shit like that.
What sucks is he's dead. Maxwell's probably going to get a deal. And all these dudes who they redacted from these files, I seriously doubt they're going to go in and unredact them. The Roe, I can never remember his last name, the Roe guy and the other...
Roe Kana?
Yeah, Roe Kana and the other guy we were watching earlier, they went to the actual file room where they are. And they were trying to look up the redacted versions we got, they were trying to look up the unredacted version in the system, and they said that even in the system, they've redacted names. Not of victims, of potential perpetrators.
Yeah, but like, how do you... man, I wouldn't be able to work with these people again. You know what I mean? I look at my coworker and go, like, you are either so incompetent I should be embarrassed to work with you, or you're so corrupted, like, I don't want to work with you.
They just...
Like, this is one of the things that made it a little bit easier to like take the loss of being a non-productive member of society during COVID. You know, I wasn't an essential worker, so I had to go stay home for a little while.
Sure.
But it was like cool. I was like, cool. I don't have to go participate in society that's blind to Epstein fucking and his pedophile network, massive politician base, CEO types and billionaires, everyone who runs everything. Knowing this in 2020, I was like, cool. I don't have to fucking participate in that system right now. And I should have taken that time to just go plaster posters on every inch of the fucking my town about Epstein shit.
I mean, but would it
that
have
would have
done
been a double
anything?
fuck you?
Would it have done anything?
No, because it would have annoyed my neighbors who already had to hear me talk about that and now know about Epstein anyway. You know,
to be able to
Is this the
speak to
victims,
people
by the
of
way,
different
after the
political
fact
parties,
that we're watching?
and maybe I don't always agree.
Okay,
with
cool. I was
them,
about to
but
clip this up and
their
grift off it.
insights help
Perfect.
me shape my opinions, and I just don't see that happening. And that's what I grew up in. That's the America that I grew up in. And for us to now feel like the Department of Justice, which is in charge of seeking justice for all Americans who are victims of crime, they've just completely let us down. And so to hear her say, if you have been a victim of crime, we want you to call the FBI. I called the FBI. And in the release of files, my intake report was released twice. Once with part of my address, and once where my name was unredacted several times.
They doxed her,
including
bro.
A sentence that said Stein was a victim of Epstein and Maxwell in the mid-90s.
Dude, they also they redacted their names
really
from the
difficult to
send
have any
list
faith
when they were supposed to notify the
when we
victims about
are
like the fucking outcome of Epstein's
constantly,
trial. But they
being
made sure to leave their name
and
on every other
downplayed
fucking
by our
document.
government. You know, we've
This is the
heard
NBC
several
News one, by the
times
way?
our
Yeah, I think
government
it is.
say,
Oh, perfect.
"We're
Yes, I'm
moving
literally
on
about to
from
watch
this."
this.
And that just
About-
enrages me.
Yeah.
This has been 3 decades of my life. We all
You missed a clip
love to
of
move
Pam
on
Bondi
with this.
getting chewed
But how do
out
you
by
move on
fucking
if you don't have
everybody.
justice? And the Department of Justice's job is to seek justice. And they, for some reason,
That's where you're wrong,
don't feel
poor
like they
naive
have
sweet
to.
child.
And that's just incomprehensible.
You and I have talked before. I see a lot of emotion in your face.
Yeah.
This is all coming back up again for you.
Got a lot of sadness behind
You know,
those.
survivors of sexual assault, we are chastised so frequently. Why didn't you tell? Why didn't you fight back? All of these questions. And here we're seeing survivors have been telling, and they have been speaking out, starting 3 decades ago when Maria Farmer first reported this crime to the FBI. And over and over and over and over again, different branches of our Justice Department and law enforcement that should have protected us haven't. It's like this massive institutional failure that we don't want to address. Yeah. And it's not just us anymore. It's not just about the Epstein case. It's about survivors everywhere. They're watching us, victims of crime everywhere. Yeah. This is something that people already don't talk about, and that's why it persists. And so now we're going to expect victims who are watching us be treated this way. We're going to expect them to talk about what's happened to them. That's a hard ask. Yeah. But we have a chance to change the conversation and change the narrative and say, you know what, these things happen because we don't talk about them. And that's why we need to, no matter how hard it is, we need to sit with how uncomfortable this is as a nation. Yes. Because it's the only way to get past it.
Yes. Maria, did you feel that discomfort in the room today?
I got to be honest with you. it was definitely a lot of discomfort, but I think we were, I don't know if I should say I was a little embarrassed to see that she couldn't say sorry to us, because she sat there in the beginning, she said sorry for what Jeffrey Epstein did to us, but yet she couldn't apologize what she did to us, what her department did to us, right? It's like you had one job, was to redact our names, to respect our privacy, but yet you carefully took the time to redact all these powerful rich men. So, it's like, is it your department that can't keep up with, are you guys being sloppy? What's going on here? It's what we wonder every day. Where did it go wrong? And then I think we all realize now, oh, you guys really wanted to silence us. And you thought that you could scare us by putting our names out there. And to be honest with you, we've been through worse. This is nothing for us. If anything, this encourages us to speak more and not to be silenced. So we like to set the record here. If there are more files to be released, which we hope that these files that are released, they need to be, the men that are, the perpetrators that we did know about and that are out there now, they need to be investigated, and we cannot fail to do that as the United States of America. We have other countries that are taking action in this, and we are doing absolutely nothing, and it is infuriating.
I want to come back to this. Oh, go ahead, Danny.
I do want to say something she did not say much today. I mean, she really evaded every question. She knew how to evade and was just using statistics. I mean, any game that she could play, she was playing.
The Attorney General did say today, when pressed about the potential for new prosecutions, she says there are pending investigations.
Who, what, where, why, when.
Yeah,
we don't have any information, and I would think that they would come to us to get that information.
Yeah, we still haven't talked yet. We haven't even.
Nobody's talked to the news.
Yeah, nobody's talked to any of us.
Show of hands, has anybody had any communication with the DOJ over the course of the last, let's say, 6 months? Do you want to have that communication?
Yes. We've all asked for it.
Does it mean we feel safe?
Yeah.
Does it mean that we think she's going to listen? No. But we deserve the chance as citizens of this country.
She also said, she was talking about anybody can go to the FBI. Any survivor right now can go to the FBI. And then we saw 302s that are full pages of black that even our congressional leaders can't get access to.
Damn, they're frustrated. I don't believe Epstein killed himself. I'm fairly certain he was killed. So you don't have to convince.
Have you seen the neck?
I think the Mordor. It was Mordor, my friend.
Have you seen the neck? His neck, dude?
Yeah, dude. And the guy that did that autopsy show on HBO, he's like, this guy had his neck snapped. Like, this was not a suicide.
Hyoid bone was snapped, and the hyoid bone is incredibly difficult. Usually in an execution by hanging that would happen like the 1700s, you'd have to fall a considerable amount in order for your neck to even snap and then break, and then you suffocate quickly. If it doesn't, you suffocate after like 15 minutes of it's horrific, absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
So that was like the worst case scenario, and they're expecting that the video shows him sitting on the floor trying to do this, right? Like just leaning forward, which is fucking impossible to get that to snap, and also to get the it looked like there was a repositioning, right? Like there was one bruise that went one way and then one bruise that went another way.
Yeah.
Isn't it some Phil Schneider shit too, where it's like he allegedly hung from like a 2-inch fucking height thing or some shit like that?
Well, the video they released, the video they released recently was of him sitting like next to the bottom bunk, not even on the bottom bunk, and he was just leaning forward, like on the ground, sitting Indian style, which that to me looks like it wouldn't even fucking work.
Okay, this was the newest thing I could find on Epstein's death. I don't know anything about this channel, but it looks like this was a new investigation into his death after the new papers were released.
Released Epstein files reveal about the financiers and accused sex traffickers' death, a hotly contested issue, and let me tell you, it comes up again in these files. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Welcome to Sidebar.
We have been covering all aspects of the recent Jeffrey Epstein files release, from the Epstein Files Transparency Act, requiring essentially the Department of Justice to turn over everything they can in their possession regarding the Epstein probe. Now, one of the aspects that I briefly covered the other day in a previous episode of Sidebar, but really couldn't get into further, we didn't have the time, is Epstein's death. Okay? Wait,
can you pause it real quick?
Hella
oh, you did pause it. Okay, cool. Can you hear me? Did you see Massey retweeted Tupa's meme today?
No. What happened? What did he tweet about?
He just retweeted his meme. It's pretty cool.
That's legit,
that is still pretty awesome. Hell yeah, Tupa, what up?
Dude, I thought it was great when Greer used the hood Greer. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, right. That's pretty dope.
It's good shit.
The way he giggled about it too while presenting it and going like, so there's this Hood Greer character who's lighting up the streets. You know, he was fucking glowing, dude. It was awesome.
That was pretty sweet.
This is a major issue in this saga. What do the files say about his death, right? Because as you know, this is one of the most talked about, most debated aspects of this entire case. You have those who say when he was found in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center on August 10, 2019, as he was awaiting federal sex trafficking of minors charges, it was clear he died by his own hand. Versus those who say, doesn't make sense. He was killed. He was a powerful guy, had powerful connections, knew everybody, had all this information. I mentioned before in a previous episode of Sidebar, there was talk that just before he died, his attorneys were maybe trying to reach out to prosecutors to work out a deal. Although I said this before.
Yeah, it was like the last time he got in trouble for this, he barely had to spend the night in the jail, and then he was able to work the rest of the time. So like, why would it be
funny? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, why would you go from that to being so terrified you have to kill yourself?
Yeah, and doesn't that, what you just said, doesn't it make it funnier that like he that Bannon interview when he's telling the bullshit stories like, yeah, JP Morgan was calling me, Lehman Brothers was calling me on one night, I was solving the financial crisis from the fucking jail. Everybody wanted to know what I was thinking. It's like, bro, you were out of jail for like half of the day every day.
In the morning, in the mornings when I poo for the first time while I'm in jail. After that, I immediately leave the jail. But no, that's absurd, dude. It's absurd that we believe that he would, or that he would want us to believe that he had no knowledge before that some shit was about to fucking explode in the market. Like, even in that movie. The one with Christian Bale about the housing bubble. The whole lead up to it.
Right, yeah.
Christian Bale's character is like screaming from the fucking mountaintops that shit's about to go down. And halfway through it, every broker started making the same moves. You know, like Epstein would have been probably the second person after that character made those moves, you know, like. To think that he was finding out on the fly that this shit was happening.
Right. Well, and that was the thing. Like, a lot of the financial whizzes that would talk to him would be like, yeah, I don't know about that guy being a genius. You know, he's smart, he's rich, he's connected, but genius seemed like kind of a poser from what I could gather.
Yep, I concur. Poser.
Man, and just so many better fates he could have met than that little hanging. I mean, this would be one of those few ones where I would be a proponent of death by tiger attack or something. You know, go old school.
Yeah,
arena.
Tiger.
Yeah, like an old Roman.
Just arena death. Oh, that'd be cool. I'd bring back arena just this one time.
Just this one time.
We didn't even get the benefit of like in the most filmed area of the world, which is like the corrections facility. We didn't even get the video of that.
I know. That's what's so amazing. Fucking cameras everywhere, but this we didn't.
And I'm not that guy, man. I don't go looking gore out, but like that one, I'd get some popcorn.
Okay,
you know what I mean? I'd tell some friends.
This will show you how old I am. Do you two remember Faces of Death?
Yup.
Red? Yep. Faces of Death?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, I was I'm like.
Have you ever heard of the show Faces of Death?
No, what's that about?
Ah, see, so you're younger for sure. So Faces
We can call
of
it a
Death,
documentary. It was a documentary of sorts.
You had to go to like the porn shop to rent this thing, right? Because you couldn't get this at like Blockbuster. And what it was like 2 hours of real death caught on video. It's called Faces of Death. And they
Actually,
had,
no, you know what? You have seen this because
I've seen
it'll be like
I remember that. It's like that.
No. This is actual deaths. This is like this is like the clickbait
it's like
shit
the
that they
people die before Reddit.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Because we get almost that. We get the close deaths, you know, where people just miss getting hit by a fucking train or just get miss hitting by a bus.
Yes.
This shows them getting hit by a bus and things.
Right. Yeah. This is the actual people dying, and you get to see all of it, and it's pretty intense. One thing I remember thinking after I used to watch them was like, man, human life is fragile. Like it's
yeah, that's what I would think after the r/watch your eyes I read it on Instagram. I was like, damn, nobody's really dying. Like, and I feel like it's fucked up, but it kind of does help prepare you for life. Like to okay, be careful if you're around trucks. You know what I mean? Backing up.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
For sure. All right, let's get back.
I'll say it again. I don't think he could have ever worked out a deal where he wouldn't have gotten prison time. I just don't think that was a possibility. Even when you look at those communications, I don't think that was on the table. It seemed prosecutors were like, does he want to accept accountability? Okay. But it wasn't like he was going to reveal information about people and then all of a sudden was going to walk free. It wasn't going to happen. Anyway, put that to the side. Even though it was officially determined that he died from his own hand, there are people who believe there's something more here. Remember the FBI DOJ memo that was released in July where they said after their initial review of the Epstein materials, quote, after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City on August 10th, 2019. This conclusion is consistent with previous findings, including the August 19th, 2019 autopsy findings of the New York City Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the November 2019 position of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York in connection with the investigation of federal correctional officers responsible for guarding Epstein, and the June 2023 conclusions of DOJ's Office of the Inspector General. And by the way, we'll talk about this more. Essentially, he wasn't killed, but there were complete failures of that institution to properly monitor him and make sure he wouldn't do this, right? But two sides nonetheless. Despite that, there are those who believe there's more to the story. Always speculation. So now the question is, with these files being released, what do they say about his death? Let's talk about it. First, I got to start with this. There have now been released previously unseen photos of Jeffrey Epstein's body after he died. We're talking about 20 images as part of a declassified FBI report from the New York field office. Very disturbing, very graphic. We can't even show you most of the photos, but you can see his body on a stretcher. Medics are attending to him. You see his jail cell in disarray. You see, and this is bad, photos of the injuries to his neck, even like the cracked bone. There's also a close-up shot of his head, visible injury to his neck. I should also note that the noose that Epstein allegedly used, our understanding, has never been identified. There was something that was collected at the scene, but according to the Inspector General's report, it wasn't what he used. By the way, there was also details in this files release about his previous suicide attempt, where MCC officials said they found him lying in the fetal position in his cell. A report even says this is from the files, quote, as inmate Epstein was being placed on the stretcher by responding staff, he would open his eyes and observe staff. When staff made eye contact with him, he would hurriedly shut his eyes. And there's even documentation about that in a July 25th, 2019 email. The names of the sender and the people who received it are redacted, but the subject line references inmate Epstein, and the body of the email reads, quote, FYI, informed by E/W Ops Lieutenant that USMS Telephone Lieutenant's Office inquiring about I.M. Epstein's suicide attempt later received call from EWOSP number 1 indicating that the Daily News was asking questions as well. According to CBS, investigators looked at the jail surveillance footage from the night of August 9th, so the night before Epstein was reportedly found dead, and they see this orange-colored shape moving up a staircase toward the tier where Epstein's cell was. And this is at about 10:39 p.m. Why is that important? Let's remember, it's believed Epstein died before 6:30 a.m. when a correctional officer, or CO, discovered his body during a breakfast delivery. According to a DOJ Inspector General memorandum of investigation, quote, the FBI has identified that the only camera in the SHU recording was located above the G tier near the entrance for the 10 South unit. The camera footage had low quality video, and the camera angle only partially shows the SHU, including the SHU officer station and partial view of the stairs leading to the tiers in the SHU. It's a special housing unit. It should be noted, due to the quality of the video, the persons on camera cannot be properly identified other than possibly if the person is a male or female. Correctional officers Tova Noel and Redacted were assigned to work in the SHU. According to the FBI, quote, 1039, a flash of orange looks to be going up the L tier stairs, could possibly be an inmate escorted up to that tier. But according to CBS, that wasn't previously reported by authorities, including from then Attorney General Bill Barr. So no one mentioned someone entering the area where Epstein was being housed the night of his death or before his death. Director Dan Bongino told Fox News, there's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it. But then you go to this, right? 1040.
So not quite as... No. So it's like not quite as clear and like as concise as they've been trying to make us believe.
There's another thing too I saw. I don't think they've said it yet, but I saw on Reddit where it was like, I don't know if you guys remember when Pam Bondi was like, oh, well, there's a minute that goes out every time,
Mm-hmm.
Like every time a minute go, like at the end of the day, and then people found on the FBI file that there was other days where that minute wasn't gone.
And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was. They redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. Every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing.
She was like, that video machine's like from the 90s and it re-records that 1 minute every night. And she's like, so we're looking into it to see if we can see it again. And I was like, so it didn't.
Did they show you the other one though in the thing? Because like in the Epstein files, there's a from another day or something where that doesn't happen.
No.
So super sketch. Also, isn't Pam Bondi? I need to make a note. There's so much shit that I have to do. Like I'm literally taking notes. Like, don't forget to do the Pam Bondi thing. Do the Pam Bondi. But wasn't she the bitch who like was there in Florida when like he was all wasn't? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, bro,
I'm doing a bomb
like,
right now. I had to interject and confirm. Yes, 100%. That bitch was in the spot in Florida to know all the fucking things.
Yep.
So it's like, it almost reminds me of like the Epstein shit. Turner, like let's appoint a AG of somebody who already helped cover up Epstein shit, so they're gonna cover it up more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one big fucking joke, dude. It's like, even if she wasn't involved, I'm sure she had some buddies that were, or some shit, like they've all got somehow their fingers in this.
Plus, I think that sweetheart deal had to have passed across her desk and signed by her in order to have gone through. I think she had a part in letting that fucking work.
I'm sure she did. And then you look at her political career since, and she's one of the big bosses now. So funny how that works.
Now, the Office of the Inspector General and the FBI, they both analyzed the video, and it seems, based on this memo, according to CBS at least, they arrived at slightly different conclusions, okay? Because the OIG report, the Office of the Inspector General report says, quote, at 10:39, a flash of orange can be seen going up the stairs of L, the upper tier. Inmates are currently on lockdown. It is possible someone is carrying inmate linen or bedding up the stairs. So in other words, not an inmate, right, but maybe a correctional officer. See the difference? And according to the IG report released in June of 2023, at approximately 10:39 p.m., an unidentified CO appeared to walk up the L tier stairway and then reappeared within view of the camera at 10:41 p.m. This is believed to be the last time anyone entered L tier before approximately 6:30 a.m. on August 10th. Between approximately 10:40 p.m. on August 9th and just before 6:30 a.m. on August 10th, the OIG did not observe on the recorded video any CO or other individual enter any of the SHU tiers, which is consistent with CO Tova Noel and material handler Michael Thomas's admissions to the OIG that the SHU rounds and counts were not conducted during that time frame. So again, if we're understanding this correctly, they say could be a correctional officer, right? And this is significant because CBS previously reported, they looked into this, and I believe we even did a separate sidebar on this too, where the video analyst that looked at this said the movement was actually more consistent with an inmate. So someone actually wearing an orange prison uniform, that's what the orange blur looks like, rather than...
Wait, did they want us to believe that the orange blur was not an inmate? Is that what they were trying to say at first? I mean, who the fuck else would be there in an orange jumpsuit?
Yeah, I said the same in comment to Reddit a while ago, I think.
That doesn't make any sense.
Than a CO carrying some orange clothing or bedding. And also that it would be unusual a CO would be escorting an inmate at that time too. You see why this is weird? And what complicates this, of course, is that there was only one camera that was recording that night. And you really couldn't see Epstein's unit or the tier. The angle was so bad. The FBI report included diagrams and photos showing how bad the angles were. Okay, Tova Noel and Guido Bonhomme, this is according to reporting from CBS, Noel told officials that Bonhomme had been working several shifts in a row, fell asleep from approximately 10 p.m. until he went home at midnight. It's a problem. And that's when another officer came on duty, Michael Thomas. Now, he's the one who would end up finding Epstein's body in the jail cell. Noel also stayed on for another shift, so she and Thomas were there overnight. But investigators found that they failed to complete the proper inmate counts between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., as well as the mandatory wellness checks that they were supposed to be doing on Epstein, especially considering what had happened previously. There was this, suicide attempt.
Right, like, he's on suicide watch. They're like, nah, it's fine.
He could watch himself.
And there were
what the fuck?
Also questions about a change in the recorded number of inmates in the SHU-2, which evidently went from 73 to 72 sometime in the middle of the night. Noel told officials that she was probably mistaken. Part of the transcript reads, "And what did you do?" "I ripped him down and I yelled for help and I started for CPR." "So how did you rip him down?" "Yeah, I just ripped the sheet down." "So you ripped the sheet first?" "Mm-hmm." "And then did you pick him up or did you just throw him on the floor?" Yeah. "Or did he fall on the floor?" "Kind of just got him to the floor. I ripped it off like that and then he dropped, of course, and then I laid him onto the ground." Thomas said, "I don't recall taking the noose off. I really don't. I don't recall taking the thing from around his neck." Noel had told officials that she remained standing at the entrance to the cell, saw Thomas lower Epstein to the floor, didn't see a noose around his neck.
Where did all that orange shit come from, too? They just don't let you have extra things in your cell, especially things you could tie together and around your neck.
And none of them are the noose? They haven't identified which one was the noose.
Well, that and there was speculation about a CPAP machine cord.
Come on, man.
I'm deadly serious about that because look at.
No, I mean, I'm not. That's not directed at you. That's just come on, a CPAP cord. I had a CPAP machine for a while, and I can tell you, it would be pretty tough to strangle somebody with that cord.
With the gooseneck, like a rubber hose thing. Isn't it like pretty soft? Like I can't imagine.
It's
that
like
being-
give, and it's plastic. You could like break it. So I don't know about all that.
I feel like if you twirled it in a circle, it'd make those like woo 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 woo.
So yeah, I mean, I don't believe it, dude. I just don't. I
You don't believe what, he's dead or that he killed himself?
I don't believe he killed himself. I
But you
do
think
believe
he's
he's
dead?
dead. Yeah, I do believe he's dead. I think, you know, the powers that be were like, we can't have this guy singing like a canary. He's saying he's going to sing unless we get him out, and we can't get him out. So time to send in the Grim Reaper.
Did you see the death report was also written the day before?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that shit's in the files.
Are you sure they didn't just like misdate it?
Who knows? You'd think that they're a government employee. They'd fucking double check their work, but who knows?
Have you met a government employee?
Best employees, all the best employees.
I'm just saying, I don't find it unbelievable that a government employee would mark down the wrong date. So, but I don't know, man. I look for the most likely explanation. And to me, the most likely explanation is this guy, he figuratively hung himself by making friends with all these rich and powerful people and then putting them in compromising positions. But I think one of these people, or several of these people, decided he was too much of a risk and took him out.
Well, the laws of the movie, you remember Clue? How, like, the guy who was blackmailing everybody, he didn't tell them it was him, right? He let that other asshole act as the liaison in between. Like, what if that was Epstein? What if Epstein was just the schmuck who they... I don't want to steal Jack Sarfati's word here, but what if Epstein's just a schmuck they stuck in between, who could be the guy who looks like he's doing the blackmail, but the person who's actually blackmailing and benefiting from all this is still behind the curtain?
Is the spy's daughter Maxwell?
Oh, 100%. He's not the top of the snake, bro. Top of the pyramid by any means. He's probably a low level call into the grand scheme of things. I mean, at the top of it's probably like a fucking Anunnaki or some shit.
Dude, I was gonna pull the is it Sukalukalos? It's aliens, but I didn't think it was appropriate. I was like, that's too soon.
NHI. It could be, man. Who fucking knows? Because when you see people do evil shit like this, it's so inhumane, you wonder if they are human.
Humans are pretty good doing pretty bad shit, you know? So, like...
They do.
It's possible. You know, I wouldn't put it past a shitty human to do anything terrible, but...
That's
I also agree that this is really fucking bad, you know?
Yeah,
and like,
it's
gonna get worse. We've only touched on the provable light stuff. Like, there was a lot of worse shit speculated. You know, like, we're gonna keep digging. We're gonna keep finding.
Like, for
worse and worse
instance, the Trump pageants that I'm sure you all read about, that I can't even repeat on here without getting my channel banned, so I'm not going to. Thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate it, Red.
First time on the channel. Yeah, we did it.
I know, love it. And Flak, you're going to come through again as well, as always, buddy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right,
I had
everybody.
a blast, guys.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.
Why did I buy a ranch in New Mexico in 1993? So that gives you some sense. So I would have funded it in 1990. Los Alamos, which was the high-energy lab up in New Mexico, was losing all its scientists.
In Los Alamos, it was where Oppenheimer and where a lot of the nuclear weapons program, the bomb.
That's where the Manhattan Project.
Manhattan Project was
yes,
as Los Alamos, and you bought your property out in New Mexico to be near that?
Yes, because the scientists were going to be, they cut the funding for high-energy physics. But the people who worked in Los Alamos would still be in the Santa Fe area.
They cut that because this was the Cold War dividend, right?
I don't remember exactly why. It was because, again, people thought that physics and high-energy physics really wasn't that important.
Because that was about nuclear weapons.
No, it was because they decided, which maybe not right. This was the same time that Murray Gell-Mann came up with the term quark, Q-U-A-R-K. He picked it out of an old poem, the word quark. But it was mysterious. So they were starting to understand in the 90s that our world of the physics world, there was things that were just unexplainable. You called it had charm, was one of the terms. It had a charm, it had a flavor, it had a color. But no one, Mr. Bannon, understood what it was.
Zorro Ranch, 38 miles from Los Alamos. What is that about? Well, I have to assume it has to do with his obsession with like genetics, biological survival, propulsion, alternative sources of energy. But if you look here, I mean, this is just one paper from the Epstein files. Key references for human germline genetic editing. So we get into the gonads here. But you can see this is a research of someone, okay, he's a sick, disgusting pervert. He's also very interested in cloning the human genome, what makes people tick, what makes people do the things that they do. This is another paper we can find, the Journal of Theoretical Biology, Evolution of Worker Policing, which is a paper that gets into sort of programming people to police themselves. So my thing, as I go through these Epstein files, which is just a blast, just a good time. But the more I go through them, the more I wonder, is instead of Trump and Clinton and some of these cats, the upper echelon folks, they were probably more important to Epstein to just say he involved himself with. So if he could rope him into illegal activity, great. But if not, just having them in his sphere is enough to up his value within these groups of people. Oh, Clinton was out at his island last week. It can't be that bad. Right? Yeah, the guy talks with Trump all the time. He can't be too terrible. He's in the sphere. And then you had these other knuckleheads, these fucking jokers like Prince Dipshit, that's taking pictures with him. And clearly, I mean, there's got to be some video with this guy. He's got to be in one of these videos where they've just completely redacted the whole screen, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. And that wasn't enough to investigate or bring charges? Are you fucking kidding me? What do you need? You have witnesses, photographic evidence, videos, victims willing to testify. So what's the fucking holdup? Oh, I know. We got an FBI that said, oh, if we would have seen any of that, we would have been on top of it. Okay, well, now we know Kash Patel is full of shit. Now we know the guy that looked right into the camera and said, if there was anything prosecutable, we would have been on it. The guy that used to talk on podcasts all the time about how crooked and corrupt this shit is, and man, if he was in there. Yeah, you're in there, and you're just as bad as the rest of them. You're just playing for the other team. That's the only difference. And this bitch, are you kidding me? The main fucking pimp, the one that probably brought more victims to Epstein than anyone, she gets a deal to go to a soft ass prison where they allow puppy dog visits because what? What did she give you? She didn't give you shit. Fuck you. Bitch, you should be doing life. You should be doing 10 life sentences. You should get a life sentence for every female's life that you ruined. That's what you should fucking get. How could you not see all this, y'all? And not get pissed, not get angry about this? Okay, I'm back. I had to calm down, y'all. I'm sorry. It's just so easy to get worked up by this stuff. Yes, us coming together, it is absolutely what they fear the most. That's why they spend so much time keeping us fighting over nonsense. Right? We're arguing over people we're never going to meet, who have political stances on things that probably aren't really going to affect us. They keep us divided enough when something like this happens, we can't even get together to see straight. They've got us arguing over who's asking the right questions about Epstein. We are America. Not these fucking joker Congress people. Okay, so couple of interesting documents so far that have kind of come up. One is this email here. Now, of course, they blank out who it's from. To Jeffrey Epstein. The email reads, got invited to a top secret dinner that felt so much like something you would host. Had to meet at Hay Adams or White House and be transported somewhere far in Virginia. Rolled up to a huge General Dynamics building, an office building, but inside was not an office. It was a library with some of the most bizarre and unbelievable relics. Declaration of Independence, all of the Versailles stuff. Did you know he was a dwarf? Nazi weirdness, samples of all elements in the periodic table, stuff from the moon, meteors, and Bible things. Anyway, it was so cool. And the space wasn't fancy, wood floor, square room. You could open and touch all of the books, even the super, super old ones. I enjoyed the Aramaic stuff on wood and leather about medical magic from like a zillion BC. I think that's a scientific term. Table in mid-room. I sat between Vent Cerf. If you don't know him, you must meet him. Founder of Internet Protocols and head of all kinds of stuff. And won the Turing Prize, among other things. Plus, hilarious. On my other side was the amazing Randy the Magician. He's like 100, but so funny. And his brain works, and his tricks are like Blaine's. But he's done ridiculous things in his life that just make you life. I don't know. Like he recreated the 1935 magician guillotine so he could go on tour with Alice Cooper and get laid. He also has some connections to Woody Allen, I think. Dinner hosted by reclusive and weird mad genius billionaire dude named Rick Adams, who I loved. His wife is doppelganger, and then it redacts who she would... Why would it redact who she would be a doppelganger for? You must meet and Vent and Randy. Rest of folks are grown-up types, famous but not inspiring. We started at 7 p.m. and went until 2 a.m., excuse me. Felt like being with you, especially since I laughed a lot. And then the rest is sort of encrypted there. So you've got these folks going to this exclusive dinner party. It's at a General Dynamics building. And that rung a bell for me because when I was in the military, General Dynamics was the contractor who did my training for my radio operations and signals intelligence stuff. That was all through General Dynamics. So yes, they are a very well-known military contractor. And just fascinating that this exclusive group of folks kind of gets this VIP tour at General Dynamics, and it has ancient stuff in there. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'll spend some time offline looking for Hegseth, looking and seeing if any of the Howard Lutnick stuff is interesting other than the fact that they apparently rendezvoused in the Caribbean, which is not good. So we're going to look into that more. So far, it seems what we've got here is not a left, not a right thing, not a Republican, not a Democrat thing, not a capitalist and a communist thing. This is a human thing. And I don't even think you have to have children to understand how important this is. This is rich, powerful, elite people. Again, acting as if the law does not apply to them. Which in this country, in a lot of countries, it's kind of a tale as old as time, right? But now, you know, you're not just like ripping off the stock market. You're not just pumping, dumping some shit meme coins. You are taking innocence away from children. You're fucking vampires is what you are. And we're on to you. We see you. And we're going to keep seeing you. Thanks so much, y'all, for hanging out. I will see you soon. And as I've said before, we're not just going to let this thing go. We're going to stay on it. We're just going to talk about all of our regular topics that interest us. But we're not going to let this Epstein thing slide. It's just some fucking bad people. You know, Trump used to always say bad hombres. These are just the fucking worst hombres.